Well, happy belated 4th of July. Hopefully, the holiday treated you well. We had plenty of fireworks, both in terms of physical fireworks and recruiting. There were several major recruiting wins, some recruiting losses. We need to talk about it today. Oregon gets a shocking commitment, not shocking in the sense that they weren't involved in the battle, shocking in the sense that had you had asked me, that would not have been my answer. But guess what? That's what makes this fun. Guys, I have an incredible panel today. We might have some guests jumping in a little bit later, but y'all already know the constant theme of Coach Sean, Jake, here in the morning, here on Monday evenings, losing track of days here. Coach Sean, how you doing?
Good. Can't be better. Blessed. See another holiday, family, fun. We here talk football. Couldn't be better, bro.
Jake, how you doing?
Dude, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited to get in here. I love Friday mornings. I love Monday evenings. I love anytime we can all like come together. We missed you on the last one because we did a special one.
Thanks.
We did a special one on Wednesday evening at Coach Sean over at
Yeah.
JMHO. Dude,
Yeah,
that
that was
was
a great one.
man. It was fun. It was cool. It was awesome. And so it's cool as the season gets closer. We get to start doing more and more of that stuff and start kind of doing this more together. I can't wait to do something on mine, with everybody, and we all just keep jumping on. We almost got to like come up with a schedule. We got Monday evenings, we got Friday mornings. We got to figure out some more stuff. So, but man, I just love being here, dude. And it has the 4th of July, the fireworks of recruiting are definitely going off.
And it's crazy because it seems like every 4th of July,
Yeah,
that's a day that is huge. If I'm
huge.
not mistaken, and I'm sure someone in the chat can tell me, I believe a few years ago, JT Tuimalau made his decision on 4th of July. If I'm not mistaken, Boomer, didn't Caleb Williams make his commitment initially? PG's in here. He could probably tell us.
Yeah.
PG, didn't Caleb Williams make his commitment either July 4th or somewhere close? I remember doing the video and then having to go out to the lake after I got that video done. So the 4th of July always gives us fireworks. But guys, David, happy you're in here. Walt, thank you for being here. Smooth, Goofball. We got Tony in here. As you're coming in, be sure to drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, all that good stuff. We like to have fun. And it's awesome. If you're watching on Twitter, watch on YouTube as well. That way you can hop in the comment box and get involved. English says Boomer. Omar R. committing to Nompton. You mean Norman? English? English or Crimson Bass in here. A Watts in here. K Spray's in here. So
Yeah.
yeah, for I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man, 4th of July always provides that fireworks, right? Always provides that fireworks.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
yesterday, there were certainly fireworks. In the intro to this, I talked about there was a commitment yesterday that I just did not see coming, right?
Hmm.
Bino, thank you for being in here. Nompton is Norman. Okay, gotcha. I didn't realize that was a thing. Yeah, that's awesome. We're going to talk about some Oklahoma stuff. Oklahoma's killing it on the trail. There was some articles that I wanted to get into with the guys, but speaking about the big news yesterday, Dakorien Moore, top 5 player in the nation, out of Duncanville. Now, if you'd asked me yesterday, earlier in the day, where is he going? I will tell you, as I always state, I'm not an insider. I'm just a guy who likes to see where these guys end up committing, and then I'll fire up a video and talk about where they committed, right? That's as simple as that is. So, with that in mind, I was of the mindset Texas is going to get him. After he decommitted from LSU, all signs seemed to point to the Longhorns. They'd done a
Hmm.
lot of work to try and get him into this class. They wanted to keep him home. And in fairness, there's still a long time between now and December, and I have no doubt they're going to continue pushing for Dakorien Moore. Why wouldn't
Hmm.
you?
Oh yeah.
But then the announcement comes, gentlemen, and it's Oregon. And I see a lot of people talking about NIL, and I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about the NIL stuff that people are doing in the background. I will always be honest about that. But what I will also simultaneously be honest about is that NIL is something everybody is doing, and I understand it is a fine line, right? You don't want to go too much into what you maybe pay an unproven player, but everybody out there is playing the NIL game. But I don't think that's the biggest reason. Now, if you've tuned into this channel, you've heard me talk about a move that Oregon made since they made it, and I have told you time and time and time again, circle this move. I've said it, Jake, Coach Sean, I said this over at the other channel we were doing, right? I said, there is a name out in college football everybody needs to know because he's going to kick in doors. And of course, I'm talking about Rashad Samples. If you don't know who Rashad Samples is, he was the youngest assistant coach in the NFL. He was the running backs coach for the Los Angeles Rams at 26 years old. He's got supreme connections to the DFW Metroplex. His dad is the head coach of Duncanville. Where does Dakorien Moore play? Duncanville. There's a reason that whenever Keelan Russell was going through his recruiting process, I told both of the gentlemen sitting here in our group chat, I think the 2 visits he was going to take after Bama, Florida and Oregon. I was like, he can take the Florida visit. That's fine. Florida does a great job on the trail. That's fine. I didn't want him to go out to Eugene. And I'm not going to lie, Rashad Samples is a big reason why. Because I was like, if he goes to Eugene, I still think that Bama might get this. But if anybody can do this, it's them. I didn't want him going out there. Now, turns out I don't think it would have mattered. That dude seems like he is tied it all the way through, which we love to see. But guys, I want to hear from y'all. Coach Sean, I'm going to start with you. How surprised were you about the win that Oregon got yesterday? And what do you think about what Oregon's doing on the trail? Because they have been killing it over about the last 2 weeks.
Honestly, I'm not surprised at all. Even look, let's take away Nike for a minute. Let's just take it away for a second. Oregon is attractive as an attractive place to play college football. It's beautiful there. Lots of how can I say it? Lots of people of the female persuasiveness there. If you feel me, trust me, Eugene is a very attractive place to play for kids. You know,
I mean, because they're free spirited there, baby.
Free, lots of great things.
Everybody loves everybody there.
Yeah, everybody loves everybody. Lots of wonderful interactions going on there. They have a young coaching staff.
Talk.
Yeah, lots of great things in Eugene, Oregon. Trust me. Great coaching staff, great young coaching staff, man. These guys know how to really. This is what we talked about, man. I talked about this with my brother Adam Lamparillo so many times. Travel in this sportscast, my broski. What's up, Travel? Good to see you, man. Home team right there. I talk about this with Adam all the time, man. You know what I mean? Chris Griffin. What's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
What's up, Chris?
Oh, I know he's happy.
You got to remember, man, relationship and relativity is everything. Me and Adam go back and forth a lot about that. Adam likes to call the kids soft and this, that, and the third. And I try to tell him, brother, it's not that. You have to offer something to these kids that they can relate to. And Oregon has a full staff of those guys that can really, really relate to these kids. To get a kid to come way out there to Oregon, you really, really, really got to make the family feel good. You got to make the kid feel good. And then you add in Nike, right? These guys can offer things that a lot of universities can't. Their facilities are arguably the best in the country. The staff is arguably one of the best recruiting staffs in the country. I think these guys are going to cause waves in the Big Ten. Dan Lanning understands how to recruit a team that can compete anywhere in the country. So they check all the boxes. Plus, you get to wear 1,615 different types of uniforms. You know what I mean? And some kids really like that kind of stuff. And this is going to piss some people off, but it's the truth. These kids of today don't give a damn about your tradition. They don't care. I know. I just did a camp here, 7 months ago. These kids don't care about what you did in the past. They don't give a damn about 1982. They don't care about your. They don't care. They want to do what's hot, flashy, um, the bells, the whistles, the recruiting graphics. That's why people like Hayes Fawcett will forever be important because these kids want that. They want everything you got to offer and then some. So I just believe that Oregon not only is going to be a good football team, they have a great staff, a relatable staff, and they have what the young kids like. They promote themselves in a young kid way. I just talked to the guys behind camera. I said that a lot of times last year and the years past, Bama's recruiting staff has been getting out recruited. It's just we had that moniker, we had that brand that was almost as big, probably as big, if not bigger, than the university itself. And his name was Nick Saban. You know, when you can offer Nick Saban, damn the bells and whistles, I'm going there because that guy gonna get me to the pros. Look at the track record. Well, Alabama's still doing great, right? But it's not because of a name. It's because of collective efforts. And if it's about collective efforts, Oregon is doing their thing, and you got to give them. You got to give credit what credit's due, man.
Yeah, and coach, you perfectly hit on something I was going to ask next, and we'll circle back around to it. But I do want to keep in mind their move to the Big Ten and the implications of that in terms of how they will do. So continue thinking about that, Jake. I want to hear from you as well. Dakorien Moore to Oregon. If we look at where he ranks on the 24/7 Sports composite, this guy's the number 3 player in the nation, the number 1 wide receiver, the number 1 player in the state of Texas. Like I said, Duncanville is where he plays his ball. And I don't think that Texas is necessarily out of this, but Jake, you played in the Pac. You have, to give Jake a hard time, a little bit of an affinity for the Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thoughts when you saw this?
Man, I'm like, it's funny because I see Oregon over here, and I was gonna do a video on this, and it pains me to do it, but I wanted to do a video on Oregon football and be like, man, what is Oregon doing as far as the firepower, right, that they're bringing in defensively, offensively. I mean, they're having a lot of success. And Oregon is not an easy place necessarily from a standpoint to get people to go to. I mean, the Pacific Northwest is unique, right? Oregon has always had the draw of, even when I was going through a process, I mean, Oregon was one of the schools that I considered heavily. I liked their defensive backs coach, right? I liked the D coordinator, and the head coach at that time, Blotti was a cool dude. So Oregon has always had that kind of, that draw. They've always been kind of ahead of the game from the, I'm going to be, as a young guy, the jersey thing is fun. It was flashy, it was cool, it was unique. You go into Oregon, you go in their locker room, it's absolutely it's gorgeous. They have their team hangout area, which is for like just the football players. There's like TVs with Xboxes, PlayStation set up. And this is back when I'm going through. It's probably even more extensive now. It's probably even crazier now. There was like, you could literally go onto the couches that have like kickback. You could sit down, throw your feet up, watch a movie in one corner. I mean, there's TVs and little setups everywhere for like your individual space, and then spaces for guys to hang out and go in there, like go take a nap. You don't ever need to leave the football facility ever. There's everything there you needed. Like, I think about their weight room and how I remember walking into their weight room and you're just like, oh my God. Like, you walk down this tunnel on the sides, they have all their jerseys highlighted and lined up on the sides, along with trophies and guys who've done well. And you get to it and the doors like slide open and it's like, welcome to Oregon. And you walk in, this big room opens up, and then you have all the platforms. And at that time frame, Oregon was the only one doing it where they had one of the only few schools doing it where they had the TVs set up, because their strength and conditioning coach was like a award-winning dude for powerlifting in the Olympics. and they had it set up where they would record your rep, right? And then you'd look up, you'd step off the platform, next guy goes, you'd watch your form, you'd either get the check mark of green or it would be like a red X, and it would tell you if you did it correctly, and then give you a breakdown of like how your form was, and then show you on like a person behind you how it should look, right? Like a hologram.
That's cool.
So, yeah. And so then you go back up and you correct your form, right? It was a way to correct it. I'm going to tell you what, man, the stuff there was really advanced. So from a campus standpoint, Oregon's, it's unique. But again, it's Pacific Northwest. It's hard to recruit to. So it's a long ways away from home for anyone else who's not from this general area. I mean, it's a long ways from home. You walk up there and it's a lot of trees, dude. A lot of trees.
Hey, I like the trees.
Nothing wrong with it. And there's also a lot of people that hug them. So, and nothing wrong with that either. You know what I mean? But it's all good. Like, I mean,
you not give a tree a good hug when you see it? I mean, come on. Now
I don't know. I've grown up around them. I'm used to them. You know what I'm saying? So,
I'll say this too, if I can add this to what Jake said.
Yeah.
This
Oregon
is
also
panel, coach.
Yeah, look, I tell you this. In the South, like, as a kid from the South,
yeah,
Oregon is doing a good job of attacking the hip hop community.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because these guys, let me tell you something. You look online, Lil Wayne, Boosie, Drake, if you like Drake, Drewski, they allow these guys to come hang out in their facilities. A lot of Southern rappers be up there just hanging out, man. And I'm telling you, to the kids to the kids that come from these areas, little stuff like that make them feel comfortable. Make them, it's like Jake said, that shit. I mean, stuff is far as hell. It's far, and that's Dan Lanning. That's all Dan Lanning, because when Mario was there, they recruited well, but Mario did not get the hood kids. He didn't. Dan is getting the hood kids. Dan is doing what he did at Georgia, And when you get these defensive linemen from the South to come way to the Pacific Northwest, they're doing something ridiculously incredible.
I mean, that's the truth.
And I got to be honest. Whenever I was in high school, it was one of those things where everybody was talking. And Coach, this is to your point, right? About what the kids care about. Because if I even go back to 2010, 11, 12, 13, right? When I was in high school, you would be there and everybody who was just obsessed with college football. Luckily, I was in a high school where there were a lot of us. We would all sit there and wait for the reveal of what Oregon's jerseys were going to be for that first game. Like, we would wait, and when they hit the internet and hit the magazine, we'd all be in the little circle being like, oh my God, did you see the combination there? These are the jerseys they're wearing. Like, that seems minuscule, but when I was that age, I wasn't even looking at football, right? I was like, I'm going to be going to law school, this, that, and the other. But even with the guys that ended up going to play college football, we were all in a circle and we were like, what are they going to wear?
Yeah.
And Oregon stood out amongst all of college football because of that. They weren't the best team in the nation, though, let's be honest, during that era, they had a few exceptional teams, right? A little bit before that, and then during that, they had some really good teams. So they were certainly relevant. But I don't want to be reductionist and say, oh, well, a big reason as to why they were relevant was the uniforms, because I feel like that's, for lack of a better term, a little bit disrespectful, considering they were a good football team. Then it's not like they were a bottom-feeding team, right? No disrespect to Vanderbilt, but it's not like they were Vanderbilt with a bunch of cool uniforms, right? Like they were an upper tier team. They weren't winning a national championship, but they were competitive. But the marketing they did, I always thought was exceptional, because we'd even go to my house after school and we'd be playing the NCAA video game, and we're trying to mix match the Oregon uniforms, and someone wanted to be Oregon or when they were doing their career, go to Oregon for the uniforms. That matters. Coach, I love that point. And then, Jake, I think you're 100% right in terms of Oregon has always been doing things a little different. And I think that the Nike connection really allows them to do that, right? And especially like you talked about, this has nothing to do with football, but I had the opportunity to work out with someone who did some stuff in terms of helping out with Olympic trials and stuff like that. And I was over there, and this was when I was in Virginia visiting my family, and we went to the gym and we were benching. And he comes over and he's like, "Hey, your form is all wrong. Like all wrong." Well, this is how I'd always done it. Everybody I knew had always done it. And he corrected my form. And it's incredible when you went from wrong form to good form, how much weight you had to shed off that bar.
Oh,
right?
yeah. That's funny you bring that up. That is so true.
But then I swear to you, and Jake, Coach Sean, you both can attest to this. You start doing the good form, your gains just shoot up, right? Like, it was incredible. So I want to, what's scary about a duck? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that there's anything scary about a duck, right? There's nothing scary. It's a lovable duck. Okay.
Yeah, dude. I was thinking
All right,
that damn beanie baby.
let me where's this rhyming limit? Let me clarify this so they understand what I mean when I say that. When you hear me talk about the kids that Dan is getting from the neighborhood, I'm not talking about kids like that. Kids that believe forcing a woman to do something against her will is okay. No, I'm talking about, when I say that, I'm talking about kids that grew up like myself, kids that come from harsh environments that they don't have trust funds waiting on them. You know, it's either football or nothing. You know, very smart individuals. You know, the book sense is always there. It's just these kids come from humble beginnings to where when a coach scream at them, they don't ball up and go into a knot. They're used to that. When these kids face adversity, it's nothing new. That's what I'm trying to say. These kids that when they get to school, they about that business. You know what I mean? Because this is it for them. And they don't cry. They don't. He screamed at me. You know, they're not those type of kids. These kids come from where you better coach them hard. They need that. They want that because they want to be great because that's all they have at that stage of their life. That's how it looks. So they're gonna attack football 1,000%. Those are what I mean by kids that come from those type of environments, not that, not our Browns.
Well,
Edward makes a good point about let's be honest, DeAnthony Thomas is one of the most electric players I think many of us can remember. Everybody wanted to be DeAnthony Thomas in the video game, right? Jake, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. All I was going to say too is I think you look at just in general Oregon has always done a good job of, I think especially after Bellotti leaves, right? And now from there on out, back in, gosh, that was a while back. I mean, that's years ago, right? But when Bellotti leaves, Oregon becomes this explosive, different style of offense. They become innovative, right? They become very much a school that people can watch, right? And Nick Aliotti, from a defensive coordinator standpoint, I'm going to be honest, I really liked Nick Aliotti. He was phenomenal. That's what made me even consider Oregon. I mean, obviously, how could you not, being from up here, right, in the Pacific Northwest? But at the same time, you have to look at what they do. And Nick Aliotti was a smart defensive coordinator. He did a very good job. But then when you combine that with the offense that they have, right, you start to sit there and you go, wow, these guys like really are unique and different. Not only do they get amazing facilities, not only do they have these unique jersey styles, but they're not scared to look at things in a different way and run this offense to utilize, speed, to utilize, the decision-making process that's almost better than what a lot of guys, or a decision-making process that's tough on a lot of guys. If we can make them make decisions faster, they're going to make mistakes, right? Hence how this offense becomes this crazy RPO offense, right? Like it's all meant to give you multiple different options between the run and pass, which is RPO, and make guys make a decision and commit to the decision so they can't go backwards, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy when you sit there and you look at Oregon, you look at everything they do, and you just have to sit there and be like, wow, okay, like this is, you guys have always been on top of it. But I think on top of that, now you put in this coaching staff. This coaching staff's impressive, right? I mean, Dan Lanning does a great job. I think he rubbed people the wrong way, especially this last season. Huh? Yeah, I didn't say off. I said the wrong way. Come on now. That's different there. Just trying to take that. Come on, Ty. But no.
Fair play.
But, yeah, come on.
Hake, does he rub you the wrong way?
That better not rub me at all. But here's the deal. But I'll tell you, Dan, though, that comment he made about Deion Sanders, I think pissed a lot of people off. I'm going to be honest. I didn't. I'm not going to go back there. Yeah, I did not like it. Okay, I did not like it. Right, like I thought, dude, come on, man. That seems like you're on television. You take a shot like that. Yeah, I didn't think it was cool. It looked arrogant. It looked cocky.
Especially since they end up doing the same thing. The exact same thing.
100%.
Yeah, it's marketing, right?
Yeah,
it's like
it is. And so that comment, I think everybody saw it and was like, dude, you're kind of a dick. Like nobody that didn't even look cool. You know what I'm saying? That motivational speech was kind of dumb, right? I mean, oh great, yeah. Everyone starts using the clicks comment, but other than that, it didn't look like you had a team full of these dudes who it made everyone want to beat your ass, put it that way. So but Dan, I think in general, you take that out of the picture. Dan is a good coach. You look at what he's come up from, what he's done. He has the resume now to an extent, right? To continue to do a good job. But then you look at your offensive coordinator is about to be a head coach. Will Stein, this is probably his last year as an OC. He'll be a head coach next year. Like Will Stein's gone, so you get one more year him. Tosh Lapoy as your DC. We'll see what their defense looks like this year. If Tosh has a really good year, then you might have him one more year before he bounces. But Tosh is a recruiting expert, right? Like everyone, Tosh has been a top recruiting guy for a long time. And then, Ty, you guys have brought up, sorry, remind me his name again.
Rashad Samples.
Yeah, Rashad Samples.
Monster.
But and he's amazing, but at the same time, you have Junior Adams as your co-offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach. I think a lot of people don't realize, like, Junior Adams, is a stud. Like, he is a stud. He's a West Coast guy. He has a lot of connections there. And I think that does. I mean, Samples is your dude who is really he's like kind of that glue that puts everything together and then makes it look even better, right? But I totally forgot about Junior Adams, because Junior Adams has been a Washington guy too for a while, and he was huge in that. I mean, there's a lot of guys, right, that you look on this roster. I mean, Chris Hampton got promoted, right, to co-DC, and now he's coaching, or he's overseeing all DBs, but then they also promoted a couple grad assistants and analysts into coaching positions that are really, really good. And I mean, I could go through all of them, but they're just doing a good job of identifying what they want to be, sticking to that, and then bringing in the energy and the right things around them that all kind of work together with that same mindset. Again, it gives you that feel of like what Bama is obviously doing. There's a lot of programs you can see right now. Oklahoma's doing it. It's impressive. It's impressive. And it's impressive to do at Oregon, even though Oregon does have all the great, cool things, it's still Oregon, still a rainy ass place that's, gray 75% of the year. And now you have to wonder at one point, does that affect anybody? No, not when they give you enough to do. You know what I'm saying? So, and to Sean, to your point, I think that's another interesting thing you brought up is you can mesh this these guys coming from more difficult situations into a place like Eugene that's pretty low key, right? Like you do not have to. You can go outside, you can chill, you can go to the park. Yeah, you might see some dudes doing some drugs, but oh well, that's just that's part of it, right? And maybe if you grew up in a rough area, you saw that anyways. But the truth is it's pretty low key. Like you're not sitting there. Like you think about just the crime rate in general in Eugene, pretty low. It's just not a very, it seems more peaceful, right? There's something that happens with that if you can go to a place like that, and it's a little more relaxing, right? And you can just do you. So it's interesting. I just think there's a lot of great things that Oregon's doing, and it's tough to give them credit, but I'm all about that. They're doing a great job. So,
well, I want to introduce panel member number 4. RJ, thank you for hopping in here with us this morning. Hope you had a good 4th of July. I kind of wanted to give your intake real fast, but first, let me hit this comment real fast. Chris Griffin with the $5 donation saying, are we worried about Texas NFL coaches not landing the kids Texas feels they should have? Relationships matter, right? Sark should be okay, but damn. No, I can't say I'm worried about Texas. Listen, do you want to land Dakorien Moore? Yeah, you do. No doubt about that, right? But if we get into, it's still July, right? And that's where it's like, it's hard for me to be like, I need to worry about Texas. Because even Bama's doing a great job. Bama's got to make sure they hold on to this class. They got to keep recruiting them. They need to continue doing a great job until the finish line in December, and for some of those guys, February. If we get into October and we're seeing something analogous, then yes, I think that's when we can kind of start sounding the alarm bells, right? But until that point, it's just so early, right? And I would have that take for anybody if you're coming off of a good season. You get what I mean? Like Texas has been able to get good recruiting classes. They're coming off of a good season. They have the SEC logo to recruit off of, so I don't doubt that they're going to land at worst a top 15 class. I think they're going to be pushing top 10, right? I mean, I don't think they're done with Dakorien Moore. I just don't. It's still a long way to go until December. It's not like one of those teams that have continually been outside the top 10 recruiting classes, and now they have to put something together, right? They have to put something together. That's kind of a different situation, right? So something to watch, I think, for sure. Boomer says, weren't there a couple Bama decommits here recently? Yeah, two of them. Miles Johnson, who we've talked about before. I think Florida has done a really good job with Miles Johnson. And then Zymir Smith, who I think Maryland has done a great job there, among other teams, obviously, for both of them. They're both very talented. Would have loved to have kept them in the class. I think wherever they go, that fan base, that coaching staff, they're going to be very happy getting either of those guys. They're both very, very good, right? No two ways about it. Two guys that I think are very, very talented. But even through those two decommitments, Boomer 129, Bama still ranks as the number 2 class in the nation. And then RJ, before I pass it to you, I wanted to get these last 2 comments. Bino asks, coaches, do you feel like Alabama should bring in the option for an alternative jersey for the very same reason as Oregon? Maybe, but here's a distinction. Oregon has always stood out because of the flash. A team like Bama and Notre Dame have always stood out because it's like we do the uniforms like this, and then we do football. I think, and I'm interested in getting RJ your thoughts on this, and then Coach Sean yours. I think you could probably keep that traditional Alabama uniform so long as you bring everything up to the modern standards, right? Of like what recruiting is, what the creative is, what the all of that. And this new staff has done a fantastic job of doing that. But it would be interesting, right? It would certainly be interesting. RJ, I want to hear from you.
I mean, Alabama, when you go out there, the pitch is not something that you're going to see. They pride themselves on the with number on the helmet. They like that's their pride and joy. So it's like they're not going to change that anytime soon. Same thing with Notre Dame's getting a little bit into it. They're dabbling into it a little bit with the chrome and all that stuff. You see them getting into the little new age with that, but that's gonna stay the same, man. That's really the recruiting pitches when you go out there as a recruit or something. That's what they bring you in on. Like, man, we're traditional. We're not flashy. We don't have X, Y, and Z, but look at our trophy case. You know what I mean? So that's you don't want to mess with that. That's a traditional pitch. That's been around that program for a long time. It works. You know what I mean? I got the number one recruiting class, every year. So it's not something that you should change. Not something you should want to change. Don't mess with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll see what happens here with the board, and if he can keep up the same mantra, or if he wants to go a different way, if he wants to add some jerseys on there, we'll see. Nick Saban was old school, man. He was, come in, work hard, get to the league. You gonna play here for 2 years. Why you worry about the uniform? You don't play for 2 years. Why you worry about uniform?
Yeah, and like Keyway says, he says the uniforms, music. I think Keyway, if you change and make the recruiting younger and the music, I agree with. Listen, I like AC/DC.
I will tell you the one thing that does facilities though. Like everybody upgrade, they upgrade.
That's a college player,
and everybody wants great facilities and all that stuff. So facilities do change. Like that's something that will. Like I told y'all last time I was on here, Illinois is one of the best facilities in the country. Nobody even knows that. You know what I mean? So everybody's fighting facility wise because when recruits come in, they want to take those pictures, man. That's the big thing now. We didn't have the pictures back when I was getting recruited. I wish we did. They suit you up, man. They take you back there to the Gator or wherever you at, to the Gamecock in South Carolina or in Florida. Man, this is a whole room, and they have like a whole recruiting room that has got like the trophies, and you can go in and you take your pictures, and they bring they bring former players on campus. I met a lot of players, man, just through helping these kids out their process, not even mine. I didn't meet too many people in my recruiting process. My recruiting process was kind of short and sweet, man. It was supposed to be Florida State, but other things happened. So, but I was so locked in on Florida State after I took a visit out there, man, that I wasn't even worried about nothing else, man. So, when I was going through my process, I got to meet. I was getting recruited by Jimbo Fisher, Charles Kelly. He used to coach it. Actually, he is at Auburn now, the old defensive coordinator for Alabama. Recruited me. He was at Florida State.
Yep.
I talked to those. I talked to Coach Bowden, obviously, the rest in peace to the GOAT. I got to meet Ward Dunn. I got to meet Derek Johnson. And that was just on the campus, man. And then I didn't know FAMU was right across the street. I don't know if you guys know what FAMU is. It's HBCU. So I didn't know it was like directly across the street from Florida State.
Yes, sir.
Seen that? You get, where do I sign? Lock me in. It was a place, man.
Fam, you jumping too, boy. Brent Skid.
Even know, man, I didn't know that the HBCU was that close to Florida State. In college, like, what's going on here? Like, nah, man, that's fam. Yeah, you talking about fam? Let's go. So, the recruiting wise, like, you want to keep it the same with Alabama and Notre Dame. The people that have those recognizable brands, you want to keep it the same. You don't want to.
So I also can we turn? Is there a way you could turn up your mic, RJ, a little bit?
You guys hear me?
I think it's just a little choppy.
It's a little quiet. But Brinsky, I want to get your take on this too, right? Dakorien Moore to Oregon, right? And listen, we've all addressed. I've said it. I don't think Texas is done. They're gonna keep pushing. They shouldn't be done. He's very talented, top 5 player in the nation, number 3, number 1 wide receiver, number 1 in the state of Texas. What do you think about Dakorien Moore choosing Oregon over Texas? Because I think that shocked a lot of people.
I don't believe it shocked anybody. From what Steve, hold on for one. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to make sure. But I don't think it shocked anybody. Well, at least it didn't shock me, only because the way Steve Wilfong and Chad Simmons been reporting on it, and they just keep saying Oregon, Oregon, Oregon. I think they just put it in my mind. But of course, Tess is not gonna give up on the kid because he was already projected to go there after he decommitted from LSU. So this is just the beginning, and of course, early signing period is in December, and we now in July. We got a long way to go, and Oregon is hot right now. They crystal ball for a couple of guys out of Texas, and Texas just not just going to allow them just to come in their state and just take those players. So they're going to continue to fight, but you could tell by his celebration he really wanted to be there. I don't think it's too much Texas can do at this point, but like I said, it's a long way to go. And that NIL money must be looking real good up there in Oregon. Of course, that's Phil Knight up there, so
Yeah, the
that's a
collector
different.
bread is different.
That bag is real different from a lot of folks.
And Brinsky, to your point, Ben G has a comment that I actually think this is a pretty good one, Ben G. And don't get me wrong, I'm speaking from the perspective of if I was Sark, I would just keep pushing. Much like, and I've said this before, Benji, whenever Damani Jackson gave that interview about whenever he called Nick Saban, he was silently committed to Alabama. He had gone to the USC visit, realized, hey, I think I want to be here because he's from California playing at Mater Dei. He said he called Nick Saban and told him, hey, I'm going to flip my commitment to USC. Now, at the time, nobody, well, I guess the insiders knew. I didn't know, right? That's not saying anything. But most people out there didn't know that Damani was a silent commit to Alabama. So he calls Saban and says, hey, I'm going to flip from Alabama to USC. And Saban told him, all right, hey, whatever is best for you, I wish you the best of luck, but you always have a home here. That's kind of the approach that if I was Sark, I would take. And I have no doubt Sark will, right? Sark at this point is a veteran in the game, right? Like he understands this. But I do think that there is something to your comment, Benji. And that's why I highlighted it and I wanted to talk about it. He says, I don't know. Moore chose 2 other programs over a UT, talking about LSU and now Oregon. I think it's done. He's set to Oregon. There's not a logical argument I could make to dismiss that point. You get what I mean? Like, that's a very sound point. I think you're probably very well placed in thinking that. I would just be the type where I'm going to keep pushing on my top targets, even if they're committed somewhere else, until pen hits paper, because, I mean, he's a very talented player. I mean, just insanely talented player. So, I mean, listen, this is going to be very interesting. We have Boomer asked, JP, is that you? Yeah, we got JP, a.k.a. Indy Sooner in the house. JP, how you doing?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on, boss? How you doing, man?
I saw you at that big state championship ring, man. It suits you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. We got the rings in after a few hard work, or a little bit of hard work. For those of you who don't know, I'm a athletic director here at a small Christian school in Indianapolis, and had the opportunity to coach our varsity boys basketball team this year after losing our head coach for the past few years to a college job. And we had a special year and ended up winning state. So we just got our rings in, and yeah, I took a little jab at Mizzou in the tweet, but it's all fun and games.
I saw that, as you should. Listen, I think there's an interesting conversation we can have, guys. And one of the things for anybody in chat that we do on this show is we have an idea of what we want to talk about, but sometimes we don't hit all the topics because if conversation takes us somewhere and opportunity arises to have another great conversation, why not do it? So we just got done talking about Oregon, JP, getting a big win for Dakorien Moore. You just bring up Mizzou in your tweet. Guys, there is an opportunity, right? I know a lot of people are worried about with the shifting landscape of college football that some of the traditions, some of the rivalries could go by the wayside. But it also presents opportunity for new rivalries to emerge, for new traditions to start being paved. JP, I want to start with this one for you. As an SEC fan, right, and as someone who I appreciate what Oklahoma does, I certainly appreciate what Brent Venables does, and I'm certainly not saying rivalry in the sense of y'all are on equitable footing. You get what I mean, right? Like there are some rivalries, no disrespect to Auburn. Auburn has been a great place. Like, listen, they've got national championships. They've had great seasons in recent history. I know, Brinsky, this is hurting me to say. But it's not like they're comparable to Alabama in terms of the history, right? That's not my contention. But personally, I think OU Missouri is a new rivalry. Once again, not in terms of equitable history. One of them is a blue blood, an unquestioned blue blood, and the other is Missouri. No offense, Missouri, but let's be real here. I think that's a great opportunity for a new rivalry to form. What do you think about that, JP?
Yeah, I mean, like you more in the pretense of before Mizzou had their occasional good years, right? Like they did with Chase Daniel, where they're number one, and Oklahoma still beat them in the conference championship. Like we had some of those where like Missouri actually has a good team, and so we can actually, have a little bit of back and forth. That seems to be kind of where it's come from, and now it's been given some new blood because of Nweri, excuse me, I still can't say his name right, Williams. We had that big recruiting battle over, and then now obviously Caden Green jumping from OU to Missouri this past spring. And so because of that, now you have, especially with social media in this age, because the last time Missouri and Oklahoma really played each other, social media was just beginning, remember? And so now you have that factor to it. And it's really the fans that I think have been going at it. We've just been like, it feels like Missouri's just these fans are pests in our side, and they will have a good team this year. But I think this is not to get too far off track here, but that was my issue with what the Barrett Saley or whatever his name is guy said the other day. Where he said Oklahoma is not going to be Alabama or Georgia or Texas. They're going to be an Auburn, they're going to be a Florida, they're going to be a whatever. You're good every 3-4 years, which again, obviously I vehemently disagree with. I'm not saying we're going to be at Alabama or Georgia right away or anything like that, but the program speaks for itself. And I think at its height it can be a dominant program even in the SEC. I'm not saying win every year, but be a top 3, top 4 type of SEC program, right, at its best. But Missouri is that type of team that every 3-4 years they have a really good team. And so I guess it will just depend on if they can have some sort of consistency, because before this year, it's not like they had done anything. I mean, everybody was talking about fire and drink.
Yeah.
But now, because they had a decent year, because they have, really good Cat and Luther Burden, which that's another one that was, he's basically a Sooner, right? And then, he's with the Zoo now. And so I feel like it's just a recruiting thing more than it is like on the field, because everybody knows Missouri can't hold a candle to Oklahoma as a program. But it's gotten to the point where I myself, like, I want to go to Columbia, and that's the close. But I want to go to Columbia and see us spank Mizzou because they talk so much. So that's where I feel like the rivalry kind of has really made its footprint is on social media. I really don't know if it's even a thing purely fan base to fan base or even obviously team to team, but certainly it has been social media because Missouri fans like to run their mouths. OU Twitter, we don't let things slide. So
Yeah, with what Sal said, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't think Oklahoma is gonna come into the SEC and be Bama or Georgia in terms of what they've done.
Right.
Which is fair. That's fair.
But the part where I was like, I don't understand like how you're arriving at this, because for those of you gentlemen on the panel that didn't see it, he started this by saying, oh, because of Oklahoma's geography, they're not going to be able to recruit in an SEC level.
Mhm.
And I was like, my brother in Christ, DFW is right there. They recruit really well in Florida. Brent Venables has established a pipeline to Florida, and he has done a great job going in there. Venables at Clemson. Clemson is in South Carolina, which South Carolina, the team, is in the SEC. So he had to recruit SEC grounds. He's known in some of these areas. It's not like you got someone who is completely unknown and now your team is moving into the SEC.
Right.
So when he made the argument based off of that, I was like, did you not look at where they've established pipelines, how they have recruited? Brent Venables hasn't had a class outside the top 10 since he got there.
Yep.
And now they have the SEC logo. And how many times, gentlemen, have we heard a recruit absolutely say, I want to play in the SEC? Like, we've heard that out of recruits' mouths. I want to play in the SEC. So that made no sense. Mark, I do think this is an interesting point as well. Mark saying, interesting to see if French and Lockett move up their commitment timelines now that Dakorien Moore with Oregon. I can imagine that Texas is really going to turn up the heat with both of those guys, French and Lockett, right, to try and lock them down. Lockett's a guy that Bama fans really want. Texas really wants. That's going to be a really fun recruiting battle to watch. So that's going to be interesting, no doubt about it. But I wanted to pass this around the panel. All right. Coach Sean, I'll start with you. What are some new rivalries that you would like to see formed? We talked about OU, Missouri. I think Texas, Tennessee is another one that I think is very interesting. But Coach Sean, what are you thinking?
When you talk about new rivalries, to me, is obviously this is not a new rivalry, but these guys hadn't played in forever. I want to see Texas and Texas A&M. You know, I know that's not a new rivalry, but like I said, these guys hadn't played in years, and some people that's younger don't have any recollection of these schools even playing each other. So I want to see Texas going to Texas A&M. It's hard to win in Aggie land, man. They make a lot of, I hear Texas fans taking a lot of jabs at Texas A&M fans. And I'm gonna tell you something, brother. You ain't careful, you're gonna lose that game. Going on the road late in the season. Texas A&M is a very, very, very difficult place to play if you ain't about your business. Texas A&M for me. I say Oklahoma and Auburn. I love to see Oklahoma on the road at Auburn, Auburn on the road at Oklahoma. We all know the voodoo still stands at Jordan Hare, right? So I want to see Texas and Oklahoma establish a lot of these different rivalries with these teams. You know what I mean? Tennessee, as you say. For me, it's Auburn, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M, Texas for me. And if you can, revisit that question, Ty, later in the show whenever you get an opportunity about the jerseys. Revisit that. That's very important to finish that topic. Go ahead.
For sure. For sure. Jake.
Man, as far as rivalries go, who would be good ones to see? Honestly, it's going to be dependent on how the season goes, to be honest with you. And the reason I say that is rivalries can be formed based on how the teams play each other, right? And you could have a rivalry game. I mean, you look at a lot of these games that are considered rivals, right? A lot of these games, you had your in-state, but if your in-state sucked, it almost became a non-existent rival. It's like, oh, great, we're playing our rival, but they blow. So this isn't really that exciting, right? Awesome. But then you look at other games that have been created over the years of like teams going to play, and you're like, oh man, that game every year is a great game, and it becomes and grows into this rival game, right? I think that's the one thing I'll pay attention to, especially in year one, because this is a unique year. You have a 12-team playoff, right? You have the realignment happening with Big 12, Big 10, and SEC schools adding Oklahoma and Texas. there is a lot of new dynamic events happening within college football. And on top of that, I think this recruiting battles that are going on, there's some unique, we didn't necessarily always see that back in the day. We are now seeing a lot more of really hardcore recruiting battles that I think that's made the offseason really exciting. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, yeah, don't get me wrong, recruiting's always been fun, but man, I'll tell you what, it's been turned up a notch, right? Because people are like, dude, even with the transfer portal stuff, it's been turned to a whole nother kind of, I guess, overall like realm, because you're like, damn, dude, like we have to be in depth, we have to be loaded, we have to be ready for to push for a playoff spot. So I'm more interested in seeing how these teams go to battle now once this recruiting, because we look at July 30th. You know, I know Bama reports to starting camp July 30th. Some will report a little after, some maybe even a little before, but for the most part, everyone's going to report around that time, and fall ball starts. I've told everybody this too. This year's again, very unique year. When this starts, I'm not saying the coaches are done recruiting. That's not that, they are still recruiting. They're still doing their thing, but I'm going to tell you what, there's a lot of focus going in at that point to making sure their teams are ready for the season. A lot of focus. So where does the recruiting, who then takes over the recruiting? Like, where's it? Who shoulders the rest of the recruiting? Who helps to maintain these classes? Because that's great that you've gotten all these dudes to verbally commit. The key word is verbal, right? Because until ink is on paper, nothing is real. Like, we're excited about it. We hope that these guys stay, but the truth is things change. Okay. Guys can get into the season. They don't feel the love as much anymore. They don't feel like they're being prioritized maybe as much. And today is a unique day with how you have to make some kids feel prioritized, right? It's not like it used to be where it's like, hey, all right, you verbally committed. And I mean, that even was the same, but I think even more so today, I think you're just seeing way more kids needing way more attention. That's just the society and culture that has started to grow and grow and grow. Kids need more attention today. So I think now it's going to really depend on who you have as your personnel staff from, you know, these teams that do have a GM. Okay. Bama being one of them. Oklahoma's gone that route. I don't know which other schools have also gone that route, but I'd have to go back and look. But so your GM, your recruiting staff personnel team, right? Your player personnel team. Okay. Those guys, that group of people in the background that's administrative now becomes so crucial, because yes, your coaches are interacting still when they can, but their focus is now on the season. Their focus is on the current roster. Their focus is on winning. Because if you don't win, all that hardcore recruiting effort you just put in is basically thrown out the window. You just wasted a bunch of time for nothing, because I'm going to be honest, if you don't win, you look like shit. Players are going to change their minds. That will definitely happen. Some won't, don't get me wrong. Some won't. There's still loyalty in the fact, but for the most part, if you're not winning, man, good luck. Good luck maintaining that great class you just got. So that staff that you have though on the backside, that's also a huge either advantage, or it's going to show where you need to do work as far as who you need to hire in your background to help maintain your class through the season. That's a big deal. A big deal. So again, with all that being said, it will be interesting to see. I can't sit there and say is the rivalries I'm excited to see. It's more so who's going to play each other and, you know, create the most smoke doing it. So
Anthony asked, hi, with this 5-star commit to Oregon, does Dallas Wilson decommit? And I don't think so. Right?
Nobody decommits, man. They stay what they at, man. A lot of these kids understand what's going on, man. They know who's there. They know who's coming. They know who's not coming. Like I told y'all, these kids talk on the back end of some of these recruiting visits, bro. Like, when you go to camps and all that stuff, the 706, the Under Armour camps, the Nike camps, you know what I'm saying? Like the school camps. Like if you just pull up to a school, a lot of times they got camps, and some of these kids, like they build a bond because they start meeting each other over these camps. So all of a sudden they start talking in the DMs and all that stuff, man. And now they know what's going on. Some of these kids commit
Right.
somewhere just because they know that their guy's going. You know what I'm saying? Or hey, I'm gonna decommit here because bro said he's really not going here. He just clout. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm committed here for right now. This clout. A lot of kids do that too. They commit somewhere for clout. Like the recruit's a dirty game on both sides, man. But you understand you're dealing with young men, man. You're dealing with kids, bro. So their mind gonna change. You really just got to keep them focused, man. Keep them focused on the main goal. Keeping the main thing is prime. I always say, man, and just like having them just kind of lock in. Once the football season ends for them, I tell them, look, man, go have fun for a little bit, and then we'll come back and get back to it. But these kids know what's going on, man, and that's really a really big reason why you see decommitments and stuff. And then a couple weeks later, somebody else will commit a decommit, but you won't put two and two together because you don't know that these kids didn't talk. You know what I'm saying? It happens a lot, but as people on the front end, you don't see it. You know what I mean?
RJ, we got some people asking Miss Ebony in the house. Happy you're here, Miss Ebony. And Cam, thank you very much for the 1999. I've said this before. Cam was in like the first 200 subscribers I had on this channel and has always been a great supporter. But we've had some people asking about the shirt one. So RJ, why don't you introduce yourself to people who might not have seen you on here before, know who you are. Tell them your history in the game of football, what you're doing right now. And Mark, it's not a Duncanville shirt, though that would be cold if it was, but it's not a Duncanville shirt.
Definitely Louisville shirt, man. Shout out to the city, man. That's why my guy said he's from Indy, man. He's 2 hours away from me. So, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to you.
Sir.
But
yes, sir.
Yeah. He's 2 hours away, man. We go to Indy a lot, man. We go up there a lot. So shout out to dude, man. My name's RJ, man. I played at U of L, y'all. I played at U of L. I've played at UK. I started at Kentucky. I transferred to Louisville. Played overseas. I was on the practice squad for the Browns for a little bit. So this is, man. It's a Louisville shirt, man. If I show y'all my closet, bro, y'all. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give y'all a sneak peek, man. Look,
Let's get it.
I got so much Louisville. Can y'all see this? Can y'all see all my stuff?
Yeah.
Man, I got so much Louisville stuff, man. Bold jackets. I played at Louisville, y'all. So what? So I still go around the program. I still help out the kids. I got a backpack right here, man. The team bag, man. This is from this year. You know what I'm saying? So I played at Louisville, y'all. I still got all my Louisville stuff, man. I played at Louisville. I help kids with the recruiting process that don't have the means to do so. Just because I never had that, I never had somebody give me the game or try to help me out with the recruiting process. My mom didn't have any idea what was going on. I was the first kid that was going through that. So when we went through that, man, we really didn't have any bread. We didn't have any idea what was going on. We didn't know that we needed to go to camps. So my star ended up being, I was a 2-star athlete. I was a 2-star, man, the entire time. And if I had went to camps, it'll bump me up because I ended up getting a Florida State offer. And you can kind of tell when the recruiting stuff come in, you can tell how good of a player you are by your offers. It's not your stars. So a lot of times you'll see these 2 or 3-star kids, they have SEC offers. That just means that they're not going to camps. They're not going to camps. Yeah, they're not going to camps, and they can't. They don't have the help and the resources. So I reach out to a lot of kids, man. I have a lot of kids that I talk to on Instagram that I help out with, that I train. I have a lot of kids at the University of Kentucky that I've trained and helped out. I have kids, obviously, at U of L that I help and train out. I've got a kid out here at Arizona, Justin Flo. He was the number 1 linebacker. I actually connected with him over Instagram before he committed to Oregon back a couple of years ago, and we've just been cool ever since. And we've been talking, and man, he's a good kid, man. I hope he has a great senior season. When I first came out here, I connected with a linebacker at UCLA. I got to talk to them guys a little bit, man, check out what's going on up there. They offered me an opportunity to come up there and go back to school and be a GA, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, man, the entire process has been it's been a blessing, man. And I came on Ty's show because he saw me through the Colorado algorithm. Well, I saw him through the Colorado algorithm. I hopped on his channel and I was like, "Hey, bro, I got kids at Colorado, man." And he was like, "Yeah, man. Well, let's get you on the show, man. Let's talk about these kids, man." Shout out to Vito Tisdale. Shout out to brother. He just transferred back to EKU, so y'all won't see him on the roster, but you will see the Wade twins on the roster. They are from Tennessee. They started at Kentucky, then they transferred to Colorado. So I got some connect to Colorado too, man. And it's really, man, it started from just me being cool with players because I know what they go through, and me like just it was a vision in my mind, and I have never thought that, coaching a little bit would turn into this. You know what I mean? So it's been a blessing, man, and I'm happy to be on here, man. I appreciate y'all breaking me in. I'm playing arena football right now too, man. For anybody that don't know, I'm playing arena football up here in Arizona. That's where I am right now. It's 8 here. I know it's like 11 and 10 everywhere else, but especially for bro and Nap, I know what time it is. Is that you the same time as the city, man? You're on the same time as the city. Shout out to you, bro. But yeah, man, I'm glad to be on here, man. I talked to a bunch of y'all last week, man. But I'm gonna try to do this every Friday, man. And until something goes on, we're gonna do this every Friday. I'm gonna hop on here. We're gonna talk ball, man. And I got a little bit of expertise. So I tap in where I can. So you know what I'm saying. So we'll just keep rolling like that, man. I appreciate y'all inviting me on here again, man.
Absolutely, man. Always love you. Being able to come on, being able to talk football with you, it is an absolute pleasure. Wanted to hit this real fast. Marcus McCants, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, question, guys, if Coach Saban won the national championship, does he still retire? And if Coach KD won the national championship, does he come to Alabama still? I think this is a fantastic, hypothetical, right? I think the answer to both is yes. And let me explain. DeBoer, and I believe him, said that the only place he was interested in leaving Washington for was Alabama, right? And it's because of the history. And Jake has talked extensively about some of the connections that we might not realize between Washington and Alabama from a historical perspective, right? Like there is a few connections, and this is just furthering that. And I do believe Saban retires regardless. Because I think Saban was ready, right? That guy is so hyper competitive, Marcus. I think that for a guy like Saban, it probably ate him up more that he lost to Michigan in the playoffs and then retired than had he have won the national championship, because that guy's as competitive as anybody. There was probably a big part of him that was like, no, let's run it back one more year and then maybe retire. So I think that the answer to both is yes, but once again, that's just me guessing. Thank you very much for that $10 super chat, Marcus. I think that is a fantastic theoretical question. JP, before you slide up out of here, I know you said you got a meeting. Any other rivalries you think could be formed? Oh, it wouldn't be a live show if we had someone talking on mute.
There we go. There we go. That's my fault. My fault.
No, I'm just glad it wasn't me this time. Thank you for taking that.
It happens to the best of us. Oklahoma specifically, or anybody?
Anybody. And it doesn't even have to be SEC.
Yeah. I think that one of the ones that me and Trav were talking about a few weeks back was Oklahoma and Arkansas. And just regionally, right? Like, because Arkansas, I don't think is again going to be anything where it's like, oh, like we're every year we're in these battles per se. However, like we've never played, which is crazy in football, and we're like the states are right next to each other, right? And I lived in Arkansas. I grew up here in Indy, and like I said, RJ, shout out to you. We're gonna have to
100.
Not too far away, but I grew up in Indy, but my whole family is from Oklahoma. Went to Oklahoma. My sister just got graduated and ran track there and everything. So like I got Oklahoma in my blood, and so I moved to Arkansas when I was 15 and lived in Bentonville, that area. And the amount of Hogs fans that would just unnecessarily talk trash to me because I was an OU fan was crazy to me. Because I was like, first of all, we haven't played, and you're lucky that we haven't played, because if we had, like, you'd get spanked. So I don't know why you talking so much. But they talked as if like it was this thing, like they can't stand OU, but we don't play, especially in football, right? I know the basketball teams had the thing in the BOK Center in Tulsa these past few years. But that's one I could see definitely forming into one, just because I know, at least on the Arkansas side, how much people talk about not liking OU, even though we haven't really played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I like Bryce's comment right here as well. Oregon and Ohio State as a potential rivalry. I think that would be a lot of fun. I hope, right? And so listen, some tradition is going to be lost, unfortunately, but I think that this also paves the way for new beginnings in terms of new traditions to start being formed. And I think that's a lot of fun. JP, thank you very much for hopping in here today.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for having me, guys. Look
We're gonna
forward
have
to
the
doing
link,
it
man.
soon.
When I get back to
it's been a minute.
I'm in Arizona right now, where I'm playing ball. So when ball's over, I should be coming back to the city by the end of this year, man. I'll be back in Louisville by the end of the year, and we're gonna have to link, man. We're gonna have to link up.
Look me up on Twitter if we don't follow
I'll
each other.
add, I'll put RJ in the collective. That way,
cool.
Y'all can
Absolutely.
communicate with each other.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to hopefully be on these more. Like, I'm an athletic director, so I'm busy a lot. I don't have a lot of time in the day, but I had time today, so I figure I'll pop in for a little bit. Appreciate y'all. Y'all enjoy.
Hello.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Indy Sooner, ladies and gentlemen. If y'all haven't subscribed to the Indy Sooner channel, I genuinely don't know why. He does great work. Travis, unbelievable show all of the time. Absolutely worth your time. Absolutely worth your subscription. Go check them out. Brinsky, want to get to you, right, to round out this new age rivalry conversation. Who would you like to see? Once again, doesn't have to be SEC teams, but who are you really looking at as like, okay, that could be an interesting new beginning?
I realized when I came up here, I didn't speak to the chat, nor did I even speak to you guys.
You just signed in. It was like,
what's going on? I just came in and just started speaking. Like, I already talked to y'all already, man. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
What's happening, brother?
Here's Brensky. Hey, guys.
Oh, yeah, man. But I just seen the comment. I want to get to that one first. That Texas and Ohio, not Texas and Ohio State, Ohio State and Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I believe that's going to be a good one for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely going to be a good one right there for years.
By the time Ohio State got some competition in that conference, one game ass season. I said it, Ebony. You ain't got one game all season.
And then find a way to just lose the most random games ever. Like when they played Purdue that one year and just got blown out and then got
Tennessee
blown out
State.
by Iowa.
Yeah, they lose to weird people. They do. That's Ryan Day. That's Ryan Day for you.
And the way that Oregon recruiting, it's looking like it's going to be a crash course for years to come. And I hope it is, because I don't see Michigan doing anything to them this year, because if they do lose to Michigan this year, oh, my God. The tiki torches will be out for Ryan Day. I promise you. They will be out with all that talent and all that talent that Michigan lost. But another one that I definitely want to see is this Texas and Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be a great one. And the only reason why I think that is because the last time I remember Kirby and Sharp going against each other was 2020 when we played them in T-Town. And Sharp was doing everything he wanted on Kirby's defense. That same defense, pretty much all those guys that were starting that day was the same guys starting the very next year for that legendary 2001 Georgia team. And he just had Devontae and Jaden Wall and all them boys just going off on him.
Dude,
so,
you know what, Brensky, what's interesting, it's funny you bring that up, because Sark, you talk about the Texas beating Bama, and then when they go to play Georgia, and why Texas legitimately has that shot, like you're saying, is that's the same style of Sark knows how to play against that defense, man.
Well, it's Saban
pattern
right?
match. It is. It's Nick Saban's defense with a few different elements here and there, but that pattern match coverage, dude, Sark knows how to pick that stuff apart, dude. Just from coaching it, you know what I'm saying? But no, this is a good point. Sorry, Brensky. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you good. Because I just think it's going to be really, really interesting. I pray to God. Pray to God that game is a night game. I hope it's prime time under the lights. Kurt Hurstreet and them boys calling the game.
Yeah,
I would love to see that game at night because UT. I think that's probably going to be one of their loudest games ever. Because that show that will let me know are they ready for the SEC for real, for real. Now that you here, I think that Bama game it showed like they got us. I got to give it to them. But now you at home, you're against another big dog in the conference. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna leg, or are you just gonna come ready to play? So yeah, I think that's gonna be a great rivalry.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome one. And I think Bama, Georgia is kind of one that's beginning to really form, right? Like they've always kind of had this contention, but I think over the past 10 years, it's really beginning to form. Cam with another $19.99 donation. Thank you very much, Cam. He says, got y'all playing while I'm at the office. Much love to y'all. 56 days until football. Boomer. Hey, it is. I got a calendar, and every day it's X that goes on the next day, right? And I'm not going to lie, I do have the release of EA Sports College Football 2025 on there because I don't know how I'm going to be balancing content and that.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
I might make videos about my recruiting wins in EA Sports College Football 2025. Being like 5-star recruit.
It's that serious now.
Hilarious, dude. If I see
That's
the
serious.
video out like that, dude, I'm going to put it on my channel. I'm going to put it everywhere.
There's a good thing called time management. That's why I say, man.
Yeah, dude.
Go to work, deal with the family. If I got to be up at 3:00 in the morning trying to get this recruit out of Texas to bring him to Alabama, I would do it.
It's a lot of stuff you got to do on there too with these recruits, man. I don't know if y'all seen like the things like the big drop or something that came out, and everybody was explaining like all the stuff you got. Like I told you, I got to play a little bit of it. Like, bro, it's crazy, man. It takes just a little bit more time. Yeah, it's real cool, man. Shout out to them, man. I can't wait to get that thing going, man. I remember when we was in school, we used to skip class for that. When that Madden come out, it's over with. Boy, we'll skip practice if we could, but you can't skip practice. You got to pay for that. But we'll go to practice in the morning, get up in the morning. So, bro, I'm talking about it. Madden coming out. It's Madden Day. We used to call it Madden Day. It's over with. Ain't no movement today, bro.
That was the norm. No class that day.
Everybody would be in one room, right? Like one. Especially if you're a freshman in the dorms.
In the dorms, bro. Yeah, you're not lying. Yeah, everybody's be in my dorm.
Shoulder to shoulder, like, who's up next, dude? And like, seriously, I mean, it'd be this.
See, this back when the players didn't have apartments. We was all in the dorm together.
Yeah.
We showed
dorms, dude.
We had dorms together. Yep. We used to be in there the last time with my freshman year. Well, wait a minute. I think my sophomore year at UK was when I was on the first one. And then I was on the last one as well. So like when NCAA used to come out, we used to cheat, bro. We used to turn ourselves up. I think I was like a 40 something. Well, I was 99, but it's like what?
Exactly.
Bro, do you know how we felt to have Alabama A&M University on that? I think it was on what year that was, man. They had the HBCU on there.
It was the last one. It was the last one. Last one, bro. 14. Yep.
Now they didn't make everybody but like 70, 60, 50. But we used to turn ourselves up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going hard. We going up, man. That was a fun times, man. And I've talked to the kids that are all in there, man, and they so excited to play with themselves. I said, boy, you ain't gonna do nothing but turn yourself up, man. I'm excited.
That's it.
I'm excited. Did that Steve Wilfong tweet about he's saying I'm just paraphrasing. I think he said something about it's funny how all these guys that's talking about NCAA gonna have a time. They think they're gonna have the time that they had in 2014. I'm like, it's this beautiful thing called time management. You gonna make time for it. You gonna make time for it.
There's also a beautiful thing called tutors and the school little study sessions they send you to. There's a reason why your homework's all done, so you can go back and play. Get those students. Come on. What was that? I don't remember how that was done in class. Can you just tell me how it was done? What's the answer again?
If there was a method, man, we found a way. I remember we used to they caught on to it so quick that we weren't going to class.
Yeah, man.
So they try to make us sign in.
Dude,
Well, we
yes.
signed in and slid. Yeah, we out of here.
Out of here,
See y'all,
I did,
Madden.
bro.
Yeah.
See y'all
No,
next week. That's
It
what.
was
Hey,
that-
Madden. See y'all next week, man. So they already
Yeah.
knew what it was, man.
Bro,
We
we had
going there,
to-
sign in, get up out of there. We got tutoring at 7. We'll
Yeah.
go to tutoring.
Yep.
As soon as I'm over, I'm going back to the dorm, bro. We going right back to it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, those
absolutely.
tournaments would get intense. But you know what? Willingham, you would have a dude checking you on in the class. He would come to the classes because we would have, especially when we were doing it's beginning of the year, like because guys are still like in that groove from summer,
Right.
from fall ball. Because beginning of the year, you get to your classes, you do your intros really quick, but you get your sign in done. And then you'd have that guy, and nobody knew who it was. It was hard because he would change it. He'd consistently change it because we would know, oh, he's here. As soon as he leaves, we're like, boop, let's get out.
Out of here.
Peace. Later.
Out of here.
Yep.
College
Cam
was
with
fun, man.
another 1999 saying this will help you get NCAA 2025. Cam, thank you so
Shout
much.
out to you, Cam.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Killing
you,
it.
man.
And then we got a great question right here, and I think
Yeah.
this is a great transition to go into some of the recruiting stuff for Alabama. But Bald No Cap with the $9.99. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you everybody for being in here. Mars, Steven, Jonathan, Matt, Jimmy, Chris. Who else? We got Auntie Janet, we got Jarrell, we got Goop, we got Bryce, and I like that Colorado, Kansas one. I also will raise you one, Bryce. What about a Utah, Kansas State? In terms of just like trying to run supremacy for the Big 12, I think that could start a little bit of a rivalry in between them. Not a big one, but a little bit of kind of how over the past few years Bama and Georgia have viewed each other, obviously on a smaller scale, but you get my point.
Yeah, BYU, Utah. That's gonna be huge.
That's going to be
Huge.
unbelievable.
What they call that? What they call that
The
game
Holy
again?
War.
The Holy War. Love
Yeah.
that, dude. I think that is the coolest freaking name for a rival game too.
I think, and I've said this before, the Big 12 lost out on brand power. You're not going to replace Texas and Oklahoma. You're just not. But I have to give a lot of credit to their commissioner because the moves they made, and let me be very poignant when I say this. I'm going to be very purposeful with my words. I think that the Big 12 is now more competitive top to bottom now than it was. Now, before anybody starts hitting the keyboard, because I understand how that sounds, let me explain. I don't mean competitive on the national scale. I mean competitive within its own conference, within the confines of its conference. When Texas and OU were there, you had a 90% chance that Texas or OU were winning that thing. OU owned that for a long time. Let's be honest. Now, guys, we had this conversation. We had 6 members on the panel. We had 6 different answers as to who could make a run for the Big 12. That's what I mean in terms of now the Big 12 is such a competitive conference when viewed through the lens of, okay, who can win within the Big 12? Not on the national stage. The SEC and the Big 10 are the most nationally competitive conferences after the moves they've made. But within the confines of your own conference, Kansas State, Utah, BYU, UCF, Kansas, Iowa State. I mean, come on. Come on. Like that conference is going to be fireworks every single week. And I think it's more competitive now than it was with Texas and OU, once again, only because you knew who was going to win that bad boy when Texas or OU were in there. You knew who was going to run it. It was the 2 big brothers bullying on everybody else. And Steven, to your point, Oklahoma really owned it for a long time, right? Texas under Steve Sarkisian has made great moves, won it this year, but OU really owned it for a while. Now you're getting away from that. Bald No Cap, thank you for the $9.99. I want to get into this right here because I think this is a great question and a great segue. Kane Womack is an aggressive play caller, which is attractive to players. But the saying is, live by the blitz, die by the blitz. It's a counter play for every play. How do we find balance? I think this is a great question. I love questions like this where we get to talk, we really get to talk football. With respect to Womack, I think he does a great job balancing his blitzes, right? But I also think that that's where you're going to get a lot of unique looks from Alabama in terms of how they try and answer. If they blitz, what are they doing? I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go reverse order this time. We'll go RJ, Brinsky, Jake, and then Coach Sean. RJ, what do you think about this right here? Kane Womack was the defensive coordinator for Indiana a few years ago. You might remember when Indiana massively improved. Yeah, they massively improved on defense, was the number 2 team in the nation in takeaways, number 3 in red zone defense, was the most improved defense from the year before to when Kane Womack. What do you think about? Because this is a fantastic question for us to really get into the intricacies of football.
Mm-hmm. So what it says it's a aggressive play caller, which is attractive to players, live by the blitz, die by the blitz. I mean, there's a counter for, I mean, you can run something. The one thing that I was told is there's no defense for true offense. So if you got a guy on offense, he's gonna get money regardless. But if you blitzing, you send him more than they can block. You just got to get home. You know what I'm saying? You just have to get home. So if you send the right guy against the right protection, against the right slide or whatever, they slide and they miss you, all it's money. They slide and they still can't get you, you know. So it really just depends, like matchups. Everything's about matchups. You know what I'm saying? People don't think about, you know, matchups. They just think about, you know, stars and who got the better this and who got the better. A lot of times about matchup. You know what I'm saying? If we got a bandit that runs a 4-2, 4-3, send him. He gonna get there 90% of the time because your tackle's not fast enough to get out there. You know what I mean? They not noticing it's the slide protection. He's short and late, so they can't get the protection slid over for the tackle to get out there or for the fullback to get out there or whatever the case may be. So it just really depends, and I think the coach is smart enough to know when to blitz. But absolutely, man, if you, like I said, like I came over here last time and said we were talking about the same thing kind of in a way. We was talking about zero blitzing and having too high. Like you can do that if you have the personnel. So that's I don't think that's an issue, man. And honestly, kids don't even look at that, bro. They know what you're running. If you're in their top schools, they know what you're running, bro. They don't care if you blitzing or none of that, bro. They really just, well, you got a couple that care. You have a couple kids that do care, but honestly, they worried about the coach, the coaching staff, the weight, the strength and conditioning staff, their position coach, whoever that may be, because that's, you know, when you're college athletes, most of y'all probably know you spend most of your time with your strength and conditioning and your position coach. And you do your head coach. Like I barely saw my head coach. I went to 2 schools, didn't see my head coach like that. So it really just depends, man. So I don't think it's a deterrent, man. I think it'd be all right.
Brinsky, what do you think? Let me put this comment back up here.
And like you said, man, you just gotta just get home, and you are hopefully, you know, if blitz, man, you just can't take too much time. You better hurry up because it's basically a quick decision by the quarterback to and hopefully he doesn't have nobody just doing like a quick slant or drag, zig, something, because that's all it takes is just one mistake and could be seeing somebody going to the house. So we'll see how it go. I just hope it all works out for us right now. It's probably going to take some adjustments during the season. We just got to see, do we have the guys for it?
Y'all got some guys, man. Y'all be cool. Y'all be
all right. Yeah, it look good on paper. We just got to see. I got to see it.
y'all got some guys, man. Y'all mixing people. He'll bring some people in that y'all didn't even know was out there just on certain downs and distances for, you know, for matching up against certain people, whoever it may be. He's a smart coordinator, man. He knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff. I haven't personally met him or anything like that, but I have heard good things about him. He's a good dude, man. So y'all be cool, man. Y'all got some good days coming, man. I'll tell you that.
I really believe he gonna this gonna be the year Keon Keeley definitely shines. I think he takes on that leadership role. I think he's gonna be one of the alpha dogs on the defense, and I think he's gonna definitely shine.
Yeah.
And Deontay Lawson, I believe he's been underutilized most of his career, but I think he's gonna finally shine this senior year.
Shine. Lawson's a dog, man. Shout out to D-Law, man. He's a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you have Jahad Campbell, who, interesting enough,
that's a monster.
Came to Alabama as a 5-star edge. And then they transitioned him to the inside linebacker, which is exactly what they did with Jeremiah Alexander as well. Came to Alabama as a 5-star edge, transitioned him to a stand-up linebacker.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. Jake, let me put this comment back up here. I'm just clicking comments to star them. That way we can continue this conversation as we go. Saying, how do you find that balance in your defense?
100%. Like live by the blitz, die by the blitz. So that's an interesting thing that people say, which is some maybe true for some coaches, but I think today I don't, live by the blitz, die by the blitz. I mean, if you're actually running a full on like blitz package where you're making your guys run like a cover 0 or cover 1, I'll tell you, man, that's risky. I will also tell you that that's not the case. So I'll tell you that based on this defense, in any defense, to be honest with you, pressure is always brought in different ways. So when you say blitz, a lot of people think, okay, blitz, they're bringing all these extra dudes and they're leaving our secondary in a position of that they just need to be really good cover guys, and they're at disadvantage. That's never, very rarely is that the case, especially today with the offense, especially guys running this like pro style / RPO, basically, right? Because again, it's a chess match. It's who's going to do what moves, and a lot of times defensively, you're reactive instead of proactive. If you can get in a point into the game where you can start being more proactive, now you've taken the offense and you've put them into a unique position. But you have to work towards that. Most games, you don't get to walk out and be proactive. You start on a defense as being reactive. Okay. And then it transitions through the game. If you're a good play caller and you do the things you need to do, it turns into proactive as the game moves on, because now you start to find the tendencies within the game. So that's one of the key things to think about is with your coordinators and who you hire. You look back maybe at their play calling style. How often were they in games against this opponent that runs this percentage of offense? How often were you in a reactive state compared to a proactive state? Because the whole goal, like I've said, when you run a 100-meter dash, it's how fast can you get to 100%, and then how long can you maintain 100%? Yeah. So the same thing before you start to decrease, right? And that's how you win the 100-meter dash. Same thing with a defensive coordinator. How fast can you get to proactive, and how long can you maintain proactive? And that's how you win. That's how you see like studded defense, right? Well, Kane does a very, very good job of quickly getting to proactive. Granted, I will tell you that first quarter is probably going to be very interesting to see how the defense is called, because he might be, what up, Coach I? Good to see you, brother. Coach I, Fanatic Sports, man, love that, dude. I was on with him yesterday morning with a few guys, with Shoddy too.
Great stuff, guys. After we get done over here, be sure to head over there, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Be sure to do that. He does great stuff. And listen, one of the better shows you're going to find on YouTube for sure.
Yeah. Yesterday was fun, man. We talked sports movies. You guys would like it. Go back and rewatch that. It was funny. Good times. But you go back to that and you look at Kane and what he does and his play calling. So one thing that's interesting is you look at another thing, South Alabama quarterback at one point who's at the Senior Bowl going through practices. They ask him about what was it like playing against Kane's defense, especially this vision drop coverage, right? And he said, to be honest with you, when I first started playing against it in practice, he goes, it was very, very hard, because number one, as a quarterback, a lot of your pre-snap read, you are trying to get a feel for what they're going to do. Like, where's the pressure going to come from? Am I communicating that corrective to my center? Is my center communicating that as long as they're blocking calls, right, to the rest of line? And then from there, am I identifying a potential 2 to 3 potential coverage drops they're going to do that allow me to make a decision on where I'm going to start my read, right? From 1, 2 to 3, because that will change based on what I see pre-snap potential coverage drop. Okay. So you have plan A, plan B, plan C. It's crazy because he says it's hard for him to see that with Kane due to the fact that he disguises his blitzes in really, really well and brings unique perimeter pressure. So you're not necessarily getting a full blitz package, but at times you're just getting different pressure packages, right? That make it seem like you're seeing a blitz. That's a unique thing to be said, because I don't think you run into that. Again, like you asked that question, live by the blitz, die by the blitz. It's not necessarily a blitz. It's just bringing more pressure from a unique area due to the fact that the alignment here in this area that he finds, man, yes, RJ did it, dude. RJ did it, baby. You did to set the fireworks off, my dog. Yeah,
I'm that guy, man. I'm that guy.
I love it,
There you
baby.
go.
That means I'm on point, everybody. On point. The fireworks off on RJ's background. Boom. Dude, but I'll tell you, it's just that pressure, right? It's just brought in a weaker area that makes it seem like a blitz, but it's not the case. Therefore, what happens is these coverages, because everyone's been so worried about like the coverage aspect. The coverage on this, man. I love it, baby. Hayes, what's up, dog? Good to see you in the Hayes Fawcett, everybody. The man who sends it out in the chat. Good to see you, dude. Good to see you. Yeah,
the man, the myth, the legend in recruiting. And Hayes, the Oregon fan, William Da Silva, he just dropped the Ducks.
Yeah.
And listen, I can't blame him. But Hayes says, we talked about this last time I was on the show. And ladies and gentlemen, Hayes did warn everybody the last time he was on this show. He said, watch Oregon. He says, with the way Oregon is recruiting high school and portal, scary.
Scary.
Yeah. And what a win. And I'm looking right now. I'm trying to get to the tweet you did the other day, Hayes, about all of the wins that Oregon has gotten over the past week or so. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go, guys. Oregon recruiting since last week. 5-star plus wide receiver Dakorien Moore. Obviously, this comes from Hayes Fawcett, the man, the myth, the legend. 5-star cornerback Dorian Brew. Deshaun Brame. Jordan Davison. Josiah Sharma. Bama wanted Sharma. Texas wanted Sharma. I mean, they are recruiting
Jordan Davison too.
Level. Jordan Davison, yeah, very talented guy.
Yep.
I mean, listen, shout out to them. And Hayes, one of the things we talked about, and I'm sure you've seen it, and then Jake, I'll pass it back to you. I don't mean to be long-winded here.
No, you're good.
I know a lot of people, Hayes, have been like, oh, well, it's NIL, it's NIL. First off, NIL is legal, right? Everybody's doing it. Second off, I don't think people are, especially in the Dakorien Moore situation, understanding the impact of a Rashad Samples, who has as good of connections to DFW as anybody. And I'm not saying that it's all one or the other. I'm saying it's a conglomerate. It's a collective of all of these factors. And Oregon's doing a great job on the recruiting trail. But Hayes did warn everybody the last time he was here. Thank you for stopping in. If you're not subscribed to Hayes Fawcett on Twitter, if you're not following him, you're not following recruiting, to be quite frank. So,
he's on everybody.
Be sure to go follow him. Jake, continue, man.
No, it's good. I mean, I love it. I mean, it just gets right back into the excitement of it. And real quick, I'll just finish my point. From the coverage aspect is everyone's worried about like, okay, well, you know, Bama has like this youthful DBs. Don't get me wrong, like that is a not necessarily a plus, but at the same time, because of these coverages and the mixture of coverages, and due to the way he disguises everything, it won't be as negative as what everyone thinks, right? Like, yeah, you're gonna have mistakes just being young, but it's not gonna be this massive, you know, that's the downfall of it all. We do that honestly with every team, right? Before the season even starts, all of us look at teams and be like, oh, well, this is an area they're not going to be as good in. We don't. The truth is none of us actually truly know, because we're not out there on the field. We're not the ones coaching these dudes. You know, we're not in the locker room. Maybe these guys are really picking it up. And if there's one area I will say, you look back at that Indiana team from a talent perspective that DeBoer and Womack coach on, right? You look at what they were able to achieve within that short period of time with them together at Indiana, man, dude, like you're shutting down a Michigan State run game. You shut down a Michigan run game.
Yeah.
You shut down a Michigan run game under Harbaugh while you're with Indiana guys. And look, every player's good wherever you go. I'm not trying to diss on players not being, better, but the truth is some are just more loaded than others, right?
Sound got it.
You know what I'm saying? And what he did, man, that's impressive. So a lot of things. I just don't think you have to worry as much about this balance. I think there is going to be great balance on the defense and the way it will be called. So I'm very excited to watch this, man. Very excited.
Coach Sean, same question, talking about Womack being an aggressive play caller, but got to balance the blitz. How do we find that balance?
I mean, I'm an offensive guy, so I look at it from an offensive perspective. When you play a team that blitzes a lot or sends false pressures a lot or try to make you think they're blitzing a lot, it comes down to if you're asking from an offensive standpoint, it's a lot of film study, man. It's a lot of tendency type things. We look at, you know, every coach has tendencies. These guys will tell you every coach like to do certain things, and it'll change maybe if it's a close game. And I think the great coordinators are the ones who can find ways to mix their tendencies up so they're not so, well, he loves to bring pressure on third and long. Every coach does that. Well, nope, some coaches like dropping in coverage, depending on down and distance and how the hell the game going, right? The great coaches are the ones that we can't never take a step in front of, right? The great coaches are the ones that just don't allow me to ever catch up with what the hell they're doing. Some coaches will stick to their guns. They're not going to change it. They're blitzing on third and long. It's just what it is. Deal with it. So as far as the volume of what this guy does, I mean, you got to remember, man, for every offensive staff, for us, blitz pickup and responsibilities of the blitz pickup are a major part of the weekly planning every week of what we do. During the off season, there'll be a whole major focal point and a mesh of responsibilities between the offensive line, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, quarterback. Each position has its own unique set of responsibilities of how to identify, negate, and attack a defense when they blitz. That's a part of it. Like so, I think with Kane, obviously you got to be smart with it because the better offensive staffs will be prepared for that. You may get to him, once or twice. You may get to him, and you don't necessarily have to sack the quarterback to cause a problem, right? Pressure cause problems. So, for me, as far as to answer the question from an offensive standpoint, answering the question is, I think you just got to choose your battles, man. I think you can't become you can't be predictive when you're talking about blitzing a lot and vision coverage because that vision coverage is a great thing. It'll really help with turnovers, creating turnovers. With that vision coverage is not like pattern match, to where if you play something wrong on the pattern match, you're gonna see a wide receiver running wide ass open. You know what I mean? Pattern match is a little different, and Georgia does do that. I think Georgia brings a lot more pressure than we used to. Kirby does a lot of different things with his blitz package, different than Alabama used to. But to answer the question, I think Kane Womack is gonna have to pick and choose his battles, man. Um, if he blitzes wisely, on untimely downs, depending on down and distance, like RJ said, I think we'll be just fine. Um, but at the same time, when you go against your better offenses, like a Tennessee offense, who's gonna be totally prepared for those blitzes, you better know what you're doing. You either better get home or you better get close to being home to cause some problems for your young quarterback. Because if you get in a rhythm of blitzing and you let me be a step ahead of you, I'm gonna kill you every time. I don't care who you got over there. I don't care if you got Will Anderson. If we get the ball out quick, that's a fact. Let Will come. Let him bring. We're gonna get the ball out quick. We're gonna mesh route you to death. We're gonna come. We're gonna bring formation of things across the formation. We're gonna make your linebackers run. We're gonna make and it's gonna be penny ante, as we call it. It's gonna be 5 yards, 7 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, 8. But it's okay as long as the chains are moving. So I think you just got to know what you're doing, right? You can't get blitz happy against your better offenses, the guys that's very creative on third down, right? But I think we'll be fine, man. I think these guys know what they're doing. I think he understands in this level of football, you're going to go against some offensive coaches that are very, very good. Very, very good offensive coach. I think the US, what is it, UCF guy, that came from Tennessee. I think that guy's a great offensive guy. I think he really
He is.
understands. He does, man. He knows third down. Third down, what we used to call the money down.
It is.
He's not. So you with that blitzing stuff, you got to really, really understand and be dialed in to what you want to do. You got to be exotic in how you bring it. It's kind of like what Jake said. It's not like you're blitzing everybody else and leaving the secondary alone. You got to really mix that stuff up and not let me know where it's coming from. Because if you let my film study carry over to Saturday and I know where it's coming from, then that's going to be a problem for you.
Right.
So I wanted to get to this comment right here because I think this is a really good comment because we get on here, right, and we'll throw out like, oh, this is pattern match, this is vision.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this, Anthony, is a great question because I think that, it helps kind of relate it. Anthony says, can you guys explain to me what the difference between a pattern match coverage is, regular zone coverage, or man-man defense, like all of that? Jake, I'm going to pass this to you because you were the defensive back of the group. And then RJ, before you go, I'd like you to speak on this as well.
Okay.
Or maybe RJ first, because I think you're on a bit more of a time constraint.
Yeah. That's right.
Is
RJ got to
Jake,
get out of
and
here. That's
Jake,
right.
you can go super in depth.
So I don't know. I can break it down in layman's terms. I mean,
Yes, please.
Pattern match is just basically man match. So you have to have very, 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 very intelligent corners to run man match. Otherwise, it will be something that you throw in the trash. That is even on the college level, it's very, very difficult to run. You don't see too many people running man match unless they have man match. You don't see too many people run that because you have to have the corners that are into it. Like as a corner, you have to backpedal and look forward to see what's going on because the coverage is dictated by what's going on in front of you. If that makes any sense, and I see, bro, like it's real. Like as I'm backpedaling, I have to understand, what they're coming at. Because if he comes flat, I have to take it. If he goes over top, I have to see it a certain distance. It's the man match is crazy. It'll work if you have the right people for it. The straight blitz man coverage is just like man on man. We call it zero. Some people call it two over. It's just man on man, bro. Like corner against receiver, like, and you have your man. So. What was the other coverage? I was about triangle zone. Triangle zone is kind of the same thing, man. It's a little bit of the man match. It has those principalities built into it. But yeah, man, the man match is just so crazy, bro. You see some people run it, but that's also how you see some people get burnt. And they're like, oh, that corner got burnt. Nah, they was in man match. He probably just did the wrong thing, read the wrong read. I'm sitting here looking at the linebacker at the hook, so that means that it's man match because linebackers have certain responsibilities in that defense. Man match, if they don't have a running back there, we can freelance. So we can blitz, we can drop, we can play with it. It really depends. So yeah, you can see it as a former player, you can see it and like, oh, he got burnt. They play man matches.
You know what I like in that man match too, RJ? I like it, and I always say it's comparative. Like, think of a pilot. Like, you're getting on your flight for American Airlines. Before the pilot can really ever do his job, the first part of his job is he's got that checklist. Yep. And he's got to make sure all these things are checked off of the checklist before he gets to the main part of his job, which is flying the plane. Yep. It's a lot of the same with man match. You got to make sure all these things that are happening in front of you, you're accounting for before you can ever settle in to what your specific job will be. Part of the reason why with Alabama, you'd see either the Alabama corners were on the wide receivers like stink on poop, or they were getting burned. And people would be like, oh, well, how is this happening? Well, it's because man match. Yeah.
Somebody ran it wrong. Somebody read something wrong. It also, your safeties also have to be instinctive and understand what's going on too. It takes a lot of buy-in from everybody on the defense to run man match, bro. Like I can't stress to you enough, not even play corner, how aggravating it would be for me to play man match as a corner. I wouldn't do it. I'd transfer. I'd transfer. I'm not playing man match the entire game, bro. We gotta do something else. I got to sit here before the ball is snapped. I got to understand, okay, what's the possibilities right here? Are they going to run a slant? Are they going to run a go? Are they going to run a curl? Are they going to run an in? What's the depth of the routes? Are they cutting their routes off short? You have to understand that because every inch of grass has to be covered by that corner, and he's reacting off of the route that he sees in his back pedal. Crazy. It's crazy. It's insane. It's insane, man. It's really
absolutely insane coverage. Jake, talk to us about this comment right here, because I think this is we throw these terms out, like I said, a lot. And I think it's great to really, that's why I love this question, Anthony, to really go into it, to have people whenever next time we're talking about, vision, man match, all this. They're like, yeah. They broke this down last time. So talk to us, Jake.
Yeah. So interesting. It's funny, like pattern match, right? Like what is pattern match? Pattern match was created basically by Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. Okay. It was created for the Cleveland Browns back in the day because they did not have the talent to match up as far as, because in defense, right, you have to, it's a numbers game, right? And the whole idea of the numbers is the fact that either you bring enough guys in the box, that box is like your front seven, meaning your D linemen, your linebackers, right? Front seven, and that box is 7 yards deep, right? On the defensive side, 7 yards deep on the offensive side, right? For a total of 14 yards. That area is the area of the run game. And within that run game, you have to be able to stop it. And the whole idea to stop it is to have the numbers. You typically want +1, but because of what people were starting to transition to with the speed of the game, and they would run these vertical routes, you couldn't necessarily have +1 in the box. You had to create a new system where you wanted to have almost +1 in coverage. So, because not everybody is going to have equal talent as far as being able to cover the routes downfield for that long, due to speed, due to skill level, everything. So they create pattern match. Pattern match is a simple set of rules, right, that allowed them to either have enough in the box or to have +1 in coverage. So you either end up having +1 in the box or +1 in coverage. Okay. Basically, it says we are running cover 3 called Rip Liz pattern match. Okay. We are running cover 3. If the wide receiver, if 1, 2, or 3 goes vertical, you will then transition from cover 3 to cover 1, meaning you will then be man to man. Okay. So cover 3, Anthony, you're asking what the zone is in cover 3. Cover 3 is a simple zone. The field is split up into 3 areas, correct? At that point in time, 2 corners, right? 1 safety. Okay. You can run cover 3 out of 2 high. You can run cover 3 out of 1 high. 2 high is 2 safeties back. Middle of the field open. That's 2 safeties back. Middle of the field closed. That's 1 safety back. Okay. It can be ran out of either look, right? Cover 3 is the most basic coverage, most common coverage ran in high school football and youth football, because of the fact that most of the time, right, you're not going to see these crazy level of athletes, maybe some in like Duncanville, right, Texas or Florida or whatnot, where you got that crazy speed. And that's where you did see some of these guys start to do some pattern match stuff, right? Because it was so useful. But it's a simple set of rules, right? It's basically identifying early on what the route is, who's taking underneath, who takes 1, 2, 3, right? Who then it also plays in the safety, because if you run a single high safety, middle of field close, which side is the safety going to start to bracket? Okay, or is the safety going to take on a man potentially downfield, depending on what happens with the seam? Okay, so that's the simple basic terms for like a pattern match. That's what they mean by pattern match. Okay, it's not necessarily the way they're matching the pattern. It's the pattern match is based on the fact of saying, like in coverage, like I'm running with you, pattern match. That's not necessarily it. What it actually means is the type of coverage you're going to run on the wide receiver, depending on what they do. Okay, so pretty great with that. And then you jump over, right? And don't lose the casual fan. I know that's a coach I just said. Careful, Jake. Don't lose the casual fan. I'm not trying to confuse you guys. So if there's a lot going on with what I just said.
Tell him, Jake. Yeah. It's a base way to play cover 3 without giving up.
Yep.
What cover 3 is
giving up. What cover 3 gives up. Yeah.
Because when I'm trying to attack that, that's what screwed me up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's a whole fact. That's the
100%.
that's it from an offensive guy. That's the easiest way I can explain it. It's a base way these guys switch from like different coverages without trying to show me that they're playing that. You know what I mean? Based off the offensive keys. Based off the offensive keys.
100. It's easy for guys. Again, it put it this way: the more people you have downfield on offense, the more people you need to have downfield with them on defense.
Yes.
Right? But is that easy? That's a pretty easy way to understand.
That's the best way to explain it.
Yeah, it is. You're right. That is
Yeah.
the best way. I get real footballish and technical because I'm like, oh, this is what you guys would do.
Yeah.
Maybe not everybody wants to hear that. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's jump.
Yeah.
Let's jump back to, because that's the same shit when you do run man to man, right? So what's the difference between man to man? You are mirroring the wide receiver. You're one-on-one, right? You're mirroring the wide receiver. Maybe you'll have bracketing. Bracketing is another term for double team. Okay. If you ever hear the term bracketing, the safety brackets or the corners bracketing this route, it just means they are double teaming based off of the route the guy's running. Right, from a wide receiver. All right. Next thing you know, we go into what is your just basic zone coverage. That is very much what you'll see similar in what we would call vision and break coverage. You will see that ran as a primary coverage at Ohio State. You will also see that ran as a primary coverage at Alabama. And I think there's a few others who run it. It's becoming the route to go. Okay. I'll tell you, the vision and break is a true zone. You will identify points in the field. From that point, you don't necessarily not take your eyes off the ball, but you're watching the quarterback, because the quarterback is going to dictate a lot of what is going to happen. I will tell you, in vision and break coverage, communication is vital no matter what, but communication is huge because you cannot go chasing men, right? You cannot go chasing dudes, the wide receivers across the field and run out of your zone, because that people do that. And that's what screws up zone coverage. Right. Okay, so visualize circles on the field, and everyone has to cover their circle, right? As we go down, and we can split it up into multiple different ways: 2 circles, 4 circles, 5 circles, all these different things. We could do a whole bunch of stuff. So think of it that way: cover your circle, get to this area, and then from there, your eyes should be on the quarterback, using your peripheral vision to watch routes. That's also how you know how deep you need to drop. If wide receivers get outside of your peripheral vision and they're behind you, you are screwed. It means you need to turn around, and you just blew that coverage.
Football IQ.
Yep. So a lot of stuff. I could go into way more stuff on this. Obviously, that would screw up a lot of people, and people would be like, what the hell is he saying?
Yeah.
The deal is it's really basic, right? You just vision and break coverage is a simple zone. You get back, you cover this area of the field, you communicate as guys move through that coverage, whether it's a mesh pattern or a flood pattern and whatnot. Then at the same time, right, that we could do that, Anthony, but I think that might take it above and beyond of what people really want to understand. But I can kind of give you a little bit, but then pattern match is a simple: how many guys go downfield? We want the same number of guys downfield. All right, man to man. Or if they don't go all downfield, then we are in a simple zone, and we cover our zone basically like a vision and break. Okay. Hopefully
on the ball. Yeah.
Hopefully that helps. Does that, everybody in the chat, can you let me know if that was a good explanation? Because I want to know what you guys thought. I know
I am well educated.
Oh, good.
By both of you guys.
You know what I think I'm going to do
real quick,
next
guys.
time?
I gotta hop off here, man. I apologize for
RJ,
breaking y'all.
Of course,
man.
RJ.
I appreciate y'all boys bringing me on, man. I got a team meeting. I gotta get to at 10 o'clock out here, man. I just want to touch on something that I saw in the comments. Somebody asked when I come back to Raw High Show. Shout out to Raw High Media, man. I'll be on their show a lot. Doing the same thing, not in as this direct, but just kind of doing the same thing, man. Shout out to Raw High, shout out to David Talk Buffs. They bring me on their platforms a lot, bro. I'll be back on their platform soon, man. I really just don't have the time right now, man, with me being out here on the West Coast like I used to when I was there. So, like, I'm out here on the West Coast. They'll go live at 6, and it's like 2 or 3 years. So it's like conflicting times. When I get back on there with everybody, man, I get back on with everybody, man. But I appreciate y'all boys, man. We're going to do this next week, man. I'll be on here Friday, man, and I think my next Friday's clear, so I shouldn't have to hop off early, man.
Love it, man. Appreciate it as always. You giving us the time.
Shout out to y'all boys, man. All right, y'all.
See you, RJ.
RJ in the
Let me
chat,
say
guys. Go
this,
ahead, Coach.
and we need Smook up here with all these deadgum defensive guys. Good night. I need to be some more. Me and Brinsky need some more offense up here, man. Listen, when you on offense, and that's what Jake said to me, I understand every word of it. It was perfect display of what it was. That's what makes it hard for an offensive guy. That's what makes it very. See, I need that defense to worry about what route I'm running. I need you to follow this guy on his route. You know, it's very, very difficult when the defenses don't really worry about what route I'm running and they just an attacking, like he said, a circle of the field, right? That makes it very tough as an offensive coordinator to where to attack, you know, because I have a great receiver right here, and I'm gonna look to him first. He might be my one, right? That type of coverage makes it a little more difficult to really get your one unless you got Julio Jones over there, right? Where the coverages don't damn matter. So that's very, very that to me, that was the best way to say it. If you can make a quarterback, to me, when you play vision coverage, if you don't have an outstanding quarterback and a quick decision maker, you could possibly be throwing into a turnover very, very fast. You know what I mean? It don't look like a turnover, right? When he lets the ball go. So it's a very good coverage style of defense to play if you can master it. You know, it's what the better defenses do.
There's a
Defenses
lot
in the
of
country do.
rules.
A lot of rules to it. You know what I mean? A lot of rules to it. It can help create more potential takeaways. I'll say. In my imagination, I'm thinking playing that defense could cause me could aid in us turning the ball over to them if we're not careful. That's very true.
And
that's the case.
Jake, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things and one of the reasons you and I are excited about this vision coverage is because you have a lot of new cornerbacks in the room, right? You got a lot of young guys, and vision is going to be a bit easier for them to get acclimated as opposed to pattern match, especially because you don't have as much experience as a cohesive unit, right? Like it's one thing if you've been together for 4 years and you can kind of be like, oh, I know how you operate. I know you got a lot of new faces in that room. Am I correct in that?
Yes, to an extent, right? So I think here's what's interesting is pattern match was created because they did not have the level of athlete needed to do everything they wanted to do. It also
cerebral. Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was like they could not match up personnel wise with what they wanted to do. And then I guess I can't say necessarily all level of athlete, but it was more so like Pittsburgh Steelers did a really good job of destroying them. They needed what they call Seattle, which is four verticals downfield. Pittsburgh would do that to Cleveland, but then also Pittsburgh would then show that same look. So Cleveland would go out in a look to cover them deep. Well, then Pittsburgh would run the ball because they were beasts in the run game as well. So how are you able to stop the vertical at the same time, stack the box so they can't run the ball like that because you're going to get beat either way, right? And so then that's where this pattern match comes together because it gives you that advantage to the athletes, but also the advantage of numbers. That's really what you're looking at. So the interesting with the vision and break, it's now become more like, again, I think it's gosh, what is the guy's name? Forget his name. Jeff, is it Jeff or Tom Hapley? Jeff Hapley, who's at let me see. I think it's
Boston College. Coach.
No, he's he's at Ohio State.
Okay. I think about the guy who was
Jeff Hafley was Boston College's old coach.
Yeah, he's at Green Bay now.
He's at Green Bay.
Yeah,
he's Hafley.
Yeah, that dude.
Good. Yeah, we're good. Okay. He was also at Ohio State. So that's my bad. But all right. So I would say this is Hafley really believed in this vision and break coverage because he's like, why at this point in time with what we're running, and this is also was moved more towards this hybrid 3-4 nickel 4-2-5 look that everyone was starting to run. Is they're saying, why would I go right and basically put these guys even in the style of defense? Because now, because of the style of defense, now my numbers work in the box and they work over the top with my coverage style. So why would I want to run a pattern match out of this defense when I don't need to? Because it just complicates the decision-making process. And these athletes are at such a high level. Like, why would I want to put them at a disadvantage by having to take longer to make a decision and breaking down these rules as they're going through their coverage. So he goes, no, we're going to run vision and break. If you look at the numbers for Ohio State at that time frame, and Ty, you've brought this up at one point, as far as the numbers game, when Jeff comes and starts to run that defense at Ohio State, their coverage numbers go through the roof. Their defense, their pass defense looked amazing. Well, that's because they were getting the level of athlete needed to run vision and break.
Yeah.
Yes, there are coverages for sure. Like you still need to understand certain rules. I'm not saying you just get to go out there and run around with the chicken with your head cut off, but at the same time, it's an advantage for the athlete, and it's an advantage for top level athletes with speed and quickness that can get out there. Now they play zone as long as they're taught how to communicate, as long as they're taught the correct style and way to play zone. A lot of us in high school, or when we were in high school, if like in my case, for example, I could go out and I could just out athlete somebody and not necessarily need to know technical things. As long as you can learn some of the technical aspects of why you do that coverage, how the coverage presents itself, what are some of the things to remember in that coverage so you do not get beat, because you can get beat in a zone. You would think that you shouldn't be able to get beat in a zone, but you can. This is one of those opportunities in vision and break. As long as you're knowing those things and you're learning how to communicate, and then you're also learning the big picture of the defense, because it's one thing to just know about one area, right? But you should know what everybody's doing, because if you in your mind know this guy's doing this based on what we've seen, this is the amount of time frame this quarterback's going to throw it. Now you have a really good idea, right, of saying, okay, in this coverage, if I position myself here, here, and here versus these sort of sets or this sort of formation, this is the type of routes I can make my break in. DJ Lee, there's a point in time where you're watching his film. He does a phenomenal job of doing a vision and break coverage example where he sits at a perfect angle, whether he needs to break on the under route or get underneath the corner route, which he does, and then gets the interception. So again, it's the type of athletes they're going after, but who also understand that style of coverage. So it's fun to watch, man. There's a lot of positive benefits to these different coverages, but this vision and break really allows an athlete to be athlete, like to show their true overall athleticism.
Jake, whenever we talk about Dijon Lee, I've brought this up several times to you. I can go on about his athleticism. That's amazing, right? The way he's able to, and I think that his football IQ, the way he flexes it, actually flexes one of the most important things for a cornerback, which is fluid hips. And he's got that. But this, you just alluded to something that I talk about with you all the time whenever it's Dijon Lee, right? How many times on his huddle tape is he in phase with his wide receiver, looking at the quarterback and then seeing, oh, well, the drag is coming underneath, and he will flip at an instant and then go hit them, like either disrupting the pass, causing the interception. The guy is so fluid. He's so fluid, so athletic, and really an interesting person in terms of being able to play everywhere in the secondary. Fan Addict Sports Network says this is why some offenses have so many choices / option routes in order to react to these defenses. Very true.
That's what I was saying. That's a fact. That's a whole fact.
Very true. Anthony saying Hilton Stubbs, the DB that just committed to Miami. When you watch his tape, they're making him do man D. He's a beast, though, Anthony. Stubbs is a monster. Y'all just got another player. Y'all just got another win in the recruiting trail. And I'm not even going to attempt to say his name just because I'm going to butcher it. And I don't want to do that to him. But 6'3", 285 from Las Vegas, Nevada, chose the Hurricanes over Michigan and Nebraska. This is per Hayes Fawcett. One of the top interior offensive linemen of the 25 class. Can't wait to get started. Go Canes. So, hey, Miami's recruited very well. Let me see if I can. There we go. Look at that focus.
Yeah, it looks good.
Look at that focus.
That focus is impressive. I'll tell you that.
Ready? And then it goes back to Ty. And then back to
focus in. Lock it in.
Back to Ty.
I love it. Looks good, dude.
All right. We got it. We got enough of that, right? He says that last one was for you, Coach. Got to get that offensive perspective in there. Love it, fan addict. Love it.
Thank you, Coach I. It's about time we talked a little. I appreciate that, Coach I.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah,
Well,
dumb.
that's a good point, actually, Coach Sean. Maybe if you don't mind, Ty and Brensky, while we're even on the subject, Sean, you've seen Washington's offense. You've talked a lot about what they do, even pre-snap. You know, how would that confuse a defense, especially whether you're running a pattern match or whether you're running even a vision break, but more so that pattern match.
Bro, I'll try to keep it simple to let people understand. Showing someone and having tendencies and running the ball one way, having success, lining up like we're going to run that same thing, and pull people. Pulling always messes with linebackers as well. I'll try to keep it simple, but going the other way, you know, but running that play, same formation, right? Opposite of what we just ran it 3 or 4 times at you, and not necessarily the same type of play, but different types of plays out of that formation. I guess this is the best way to say it. Pinning, using offensive linemen to pin, pull, counters. Counters is always going to be successful in college football, right? You're starting to even see the pros do a lot of counter action now. Counters back in the day, people ask the question all the time, what's the difference in the wishbone and the spread? Look at the blocking scheme and look at how the alignment, look at the personnel on the line of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage, look at the misdirectional purposes. Look at how it screws up the linebackers. You screw up the linebackers, you screw up the secondary. You get everybody out of position. That's what the name of the game is with this offense. Getting you out of position by showing you one thing, but we're doing a whole entire another. Not allowing the defense, as Jake spoke to, not allowing the defense to be comfortable doing what Jake just explained, right? Making these guys pay for us and having to defend us the entire length of the field. Getting Jake and them to commit resources 4-over-3, meaning getting Jake to have 4 defensive backs over 3 receivers. I want Jake to have as many resources as possible out there. That's why I put him out there. I want these guys, because we've had success running plays to these same people in the same formation. I need Jake to commit more resources over there to stop that play. And then we're going to come back and run a counter the other way. Anytime you can do counteraction in college football with success, with deep shots downfield, like Coach Smoot just had a point to where he was saying this defense is really to stop you really from taking those deep shots and being successful at it downfield. Well, that's what I want to do. I need to take those shots downfield at some point if I can take a deep shot downfield and get you guys out of position, get your linebackers, get your cornerbacks out of position, I'll win the football game. I'll at least be successful on offense, because it's not necessarily about big plays in this offense. It's about moving the chains. Moving the chains. And one thing I like about Coach DeBoer and what Ryan Grubbs did when he was with Coach DeBoer is these guys will knife you to death. We used to call knife you to death. If they find something that works, if they find your safety, don't know what the hell he's doing, these guys will drain well until you stop it. They'll make your safety play deep when he don't want to play deep, right? Will affect our running game. So it's all a checkers game, or I guess I should say a chess game. And Jake explained the defensive side of it as well as you can possibly explain it. The offensive way, we're trying to get Jake and them out of position. We're trying to catch matchups. We're trying to catch space. We're trying to catch these guys and being overly aggressive and make them pay for it. That's just pretty much what it is. Counteraction, pinning, pulling, a lot of vertical stretches, horizontal stretches, getting these guys to chase us, showing them a lot of pre-snap motion, getting these guys to adjust to our pre-snap motion. And when they don't adjust to our pre-snap motion, taking that into the old Rolodex, right? And film study shows us really which linebacker can cover, which linebacker can't cover, which linebacker is comfortable playing in the box, which linebacker look a little lost, right? Attacking weaker areas in the zone defense. A lot of teams like to run zone. A lot of times when teams run zone, the weaker areas in the zone are the flats. A lot of times linebackers and DBs, they start off checking the curls before they move into the flats. So we'll flat you to death until you come up and make the play. We'll let you get comfortable coming up. We'll actually take a chance to lose yards and run a negative play just to show you we will throw it on the flat. Unlike Alabama did last year, we will throw it to keep your linebacker on alert. That's what we want him to do. We want to get him out of position. We want to move him. We want to dictate to you guys what we do. We don't want you to dictate what y'all do. That's the defense winning. So it's all about getting you out of position. It's all about getting great athletes in space and make you defend horizontal stretches and vertical stretches with the counteraction and pinning and pulling.
Well,
that's just
guys,
getting in the
it's just like Coach Sean. What was it? It was a few weeks ago. We went into the vault, the all-22 vault, and pulled that Oregon game. And we all as a group were like, okay, homework for tonight is watching the Oregon game.
Yeah.
Let's meet in the morning and let's all talk about our takeaways. Well, we didn't tell each other what each of our takeaways were. We wanted that to be damn it if we didn't all come in here with the exact same takeaway, right? And one of the things Coach Sean pointed out to you guys, that if you weren't in that stream, I'll talk about it now. I put a comment in the chat and posted it on the screen right here, guys. It's about creating assumptions and making them pay for the assumptions. Y'all remember the movie Inception?
Mm-hmm.
You're planting the seed.
That's right.
And you're having them act on that assumption, which is incorrect. Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. I would love to have you on. If you want to jump in right now, we're going to talk about this and then do a recruiting topic. But if you want to hop in here, by all means, you let me know. You let me know. As you can see, I got a chair, guys, that the hydraulics in it is bad. So you'll see me start all the way up here, and then I end up all the way down here, and then we got to go right back up. So it's a constant game. But I don't know most movies, right? Like I have about 15 movies I can tell you about, but my sport movie knowledge is abysmal. You can ask my wife. She's always like talking about the classic movies, and I'm like, what's that? And she looks heartbroken almost every other day. If it's a comedy, I know about it. And then I know Inception because I like Nolan. But that's really all I know about movies,
bro.
Yeah. So
let me say this to him, Ty, real quick.
Go ahead.
I don't know if people understand percentages, but this is an offense that run pre-snap motion 65% of the times. Coach, I can tell you 60, and that's not by that goes with calls, I guess is the best way. These guys run motion 65% of the times. That really helps offenses. That run this type of offense. It makes the defense work. Like when you do film study on this offense, you better have some guys that really understand the breakdown and don't forget, this team still run inside outside zone. Yeah. They still run a zone offense, man. So they will run that thing at you. So I say that to make people understand how difficult it is to create a solid foundation in stopping an offense that's of this caliber. These guys extenuate everybody on the offense. They'll throw the ball to the tight ends. They're not going to be like us and just line the tight ends up there and let them block all game and might throw them one ball. No, if these guys will block with their tight end, this is the only team I've seen that is effective in the run game, will still chip block with their tight ends, right? And release their tight ends into different packages, mesh routes. They'll block the defensive end, release the tight end across the formation, get your linebackers out of space, and hit the tight end for a big play. And they'll run that until you stop it. You will not find defensive coordinators that'll tell you these type of offenses is fun to play against, because you can't focus your energies on taking away Roma Dunze because McMillan will kill you. You can't focus your defense on really stopping McMillan because the tight end will kill you, and they will run the ball on you. They'll still run the ball on you. It's not about volume with these guys. They don't run the ball 30 times a game. It's about situational runs. I think their running back, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't have a gang of carries, but I think he was still either first or second in the Pac-12 in rushing yards. So these guys will run the ball. I forgot his name, but either Washington was first or second, if I'm not mistaken. They were in the top 3 in rushing as far as yards in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
DJ
it's not
from
volume.
Mississippi State.
And The one thing I wanted to add to that, Coach Sean, you made a point a while ago, and we talked about it. Gosh, I can't remember when that was. Jake, it was you, Jance, Coach Sean, and I. We all hopped on after doing our homework of the Oregon game and did a live stream. And one of the things we spent maybe 20 minutes talking about is that DeBoer would. Oh, did you see it? I just shot down a little bit.
Oh yeah, dude.
Okay,
wow.
let's stay
Be careful
on
there,
focus.
Ty.
Yeah, I might hurt myself over here. This is a dangerous job, ladies and gentlemen. This is a dangerous job. But whenever we were talking about that, Coach Sean, you spoke for 10, 15 minutes that day about how DeBoer would come up to the line of scrimmage with the same formation again and again and again. But he might show you by the end of the game, if you went back and tracked it, you might be like, okay, well, he came out in bunch set X amount of times, but he showed us 7 different things out of the exact same formation. So the next time a defense sees it, they're sitting there being like, I don't know what this could be. Yes. Sark was great at this. I always reference this play because for those Alabama fans, I like analogies, gentlemen, because from my time in debate, I find that analogies are great ways to take a topic. If there's some inlaid bias whenever you're having a debate, you give an analogy because it can give analogous logic, but it takes them out of the innate bias they may have about the debate you're having. So for Alabama fans, you knew that Alabama offense with Steve Sarkisian. I'm going to give you this analogy. You remember in the year 2020 where they won that national championship, you would see Devontae Smith do orbit motion, orbit motion, orbit motion, orbit motion 9 times. 8 of those times, he didn't get the ball. On the 9th time, guess what they did? Right. Boom. They hit Devontae Smith. The other one they would do is whenever Devontae Smith, they would run that screen to Jalen Waddle when he was behind him, and Devontae Smith would be the lead blocker. They'd do it. Do it. Well, on the 5th time they go to do it, all of the defensive backs are trying to get past Devontae Smith to go to Jalen Waddle. Devontae Smith was never blocking on this 5th one. He would go like he was about to block and then rip past them and just scream downfield, and Mac Jones would hit him on a deep shot, and that gave teams nightmares. There are some, and I'm not saying it's complete, there are some parallels between what Steve Sarkisian will do offensively and what Kalen DeBoer does offensively, in the sense of they want to make a defense create assumptions, and they're going to take advantage of the assumptions that they have then laid forth for the defense to fall. They're laying traps everywhere. It is a beautiful style of offense, right? It is. That's what makes me so excited about this.
And let me say this before you finish that. A lot of times when you see them bringing, this doesn't just go for Alabama. It's pretty much for anyone who runs pre-snap motion to that effect. And Jake can speak to this as well. Brinsky can as well. When you see these guys coming across the formation, I'm trying to see, are y'all in man? I'm trying to see, do you follow me? I'm trying to see which DBs, like that tells me as an offensive guy, no matter what you're trying to disguise, no matter how you're lined up, they playing man. They playing man. You know what I mean? So I'll know where to attack you. I'll know where your holes in your defense is, because I already know which defensive back don't want to tackle. I already know from film study which guy wants to cover, which guy's not very aggressive tackling, right? I'll run things to create a matchup to where I can get this guy in a situation to where he'll have to make a tackle, or cover for that matter. It's all chess, man. It's all chess, film study, just like Jake said. These guys are running coverages to stop the same thing that we're watching. We're watching them, they're watching us. And you do things in practice to try to give you a little advantage up. That's just what it is. And I love the fact that our offense runs these type of things to create those advantages, especially against aggressive defensive fronts like we'll be facing this season.
Dude, I love that. You know, what's funny too is like, do you look at like the pre-snap movement, because there's pre-snap movement and then there's pre-snap motion, right? So there's an actual like motion, and then there's movement where you see like 2 guys shift, or 2 or 3 guys shifting, which is crazy that you see that as much as you do in Washington, or at Washington when DeBoer was there, but you'll see that again now. You're right. Like some people ask, like, well, is it to get the look? 100%, as Coach Sean just explained, it is. They want to see what they're doing. But it's also crazy when the adjustment isn't made, right? And when they don't, maybe the defense is just sitting in the same sort of position, maybe a few little shifts here. What's crazy is in this offense, because of how dynamic it is, in each of the movements they do, even in the motions they do, there are like 3 to 4 different options they can run
It's a fact.
that out of each one of those that will attack because truthfully, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but there's like 3 or
Pass
4.
options.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 3 or 4 coverage options or run stopping options that the defense then is
It's a
in.
fact.
So they know how, okay, based on this, this, and this, and percentages down in distance, personnel on the field, this is what we can run. And they've gotten down to such a science with that. Like KD has done such a good job
Mhm.
of getting that. And now Nick Sheridan's been in this offense. Shoot, he's been in this offense longer than I think Grubb was in it,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. I don't think Grubb was in this offense even. He was a lot. Sheridan called the offense even before Grubb back in Indiana at one point. So, and that's when like Penix was like, people were looking at him for even pre Heisman numbers at Indiana before he got hurt. So you have to sit there and be like, whoa, dude, like these guys are dangerous. And that's why, I mean, they destroy pattern match because it just doesn't, again, like you see what he did to Dan Lanning, because Dan Lanning runs a pattern match defense. I mean, that's the defense that he won with at Georgia, won a national championship with at Georgia. So, it's interesting to see kind of how they go about it. And it's fun, man. It's really exciting. And then you get a play caller on the opposite side of the ball now who's very dynamic and Womack on the way he calls the defense. He's dynamic as well. He'll show you one thing and it will be completely different. And it's so crazy that you have two guys now who have that same sort of thinking. It's exciting, and you're seeing that with a lot of coaching staffs and which routes they're going. Kirby does a really good job of that, of identifying guys that fit that mold of what he likes to do, but at the same time that will be similar on the opposite side of the ball, right? I think it's Bobo, the offensive coordinator. He does a good job of that. So yeah, it's gonna be, man, it's gonna be fun. I'm really excited to watch this season, not just with his, but I'm excited to watch all the different teams and what they run and their different schemes. So Ty, you're muted, buddy. Damn it.
Wouldn't be a live show unless it happened.
Twice.
Let's do it. Thank you for letting me know, because I'd have just gone on a spiel to nobody, right? So here we are. Last topic, guys. We've been going for 2 hours and 26 minutes, but I did want to talk about some Alabama recruiting, right? This week has been, a great week. You got Caleb Edwards. Justin Hill was a huge win for Alabama. Huge. And I think one of the things that Corey Lewis saying, hey, guys, doing a great show. Thank you very much, Corey. Thank you very much. That means a lot. Ty turning into Luke Robinson. Hey. True. I've starred this as well for you, Shane. And then $10 from Goof saying, just wanted to show some love. Any plans on setting up a fan funder in the future? I don't know, Goof. I'm an opinion guy. And this is just us talking ball, right? So we might do something like that, but I haven't put much thought into it. I just kind of like everybody being able to be here. Money's tight for people across, the country. And so my content's free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just enjoy having a place where people can come in, talk football.
L&L, baby.
And do what they do. So appreciate the donation, Goof. Appreciate the donation. We might, but we'll see. We'll see. Larry Large in here saying roll tide roll. Van Attic saying personnel matters more than scheme. Wrong personnel can make your scheme look bad. That's true.
Oh, yeah.
That's very true.
Oh, yeah.
That's very, very true.
I said on the past show, the scheme outweighed the execution when I watched their offense. The execution was good. We all know that. But the scheme and how they ran it almost, to me, outweighed the fact that it worked, because the scheme was so damn good. when you watch that all 22. I said something very, very similar to that. I said the scheme to me almost outweighed the fact that it worked. It almost outweighed the execution. Very, very. That's a very good comment.
Yeah, Moon. I might. We'll see. We'll see. It's something I need to definitely think about. We might end up doing it. Well, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But did want to get into some recruiting because Justin Hill, huge win. And I said this in a video, and wouldn't you know, it triggered somebody. Jake, you and I were texting about this. Apparently, I was talking trash about Ohio State, even though I gave a 2-minute spiel about this is such a big win because Ohio State is recruiting at such an elite level right now. They've assembled a great staff. They've gone into Alabama. They've gotten top kids from Alabama, and now Alabama gets one over Ohio State. Somehow, that's downing a program and talking trash about a program. Coach Sean, I don't know if you saw it. There was someone who lost their mind.
Dude.
And I had to delete.
We talked about that on my channel. What happened with you? We talked about that, and my channel, we kind of put a little B2A on that because it was ridiculous. I mean,
I had to delete some of the comments because some of what was said. I don't know if y'all got to see
Crazy.
some of what was said before I deleted them.
I mean, I did.
It was that bad?
Here's a dude. This guy was just like losing his mind. Losing his mind
in his life. That he never played
straight up, dude. If you guys don't know, I was a background detective before I did stuff like this, so I can find out a lot about people. It was crazy, dude.
Ty is probably the most fair content creator I've ever worked with. I mean, Ty he gonna give love when it's time to get love. He gonna get on you when it's time to get on you. To even come in the chat with that ridiculousness, I wish you'd come in mine with that. You're welcome at just my humble opinion to come on over with your comment. I would almost appreciate it.
Yeah, and he lost his mind, right? And I was like, okay, cool.
Crazy.
Bama then did have 2 decommits, Zamir Smith, Miles Johnson. Listen, I've said this so many times this year. I don't care if they're a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5-star. Those guys can play ball, right? Those guys can both play ball at an elite level. Wherever they go, wherever they end up, that team is going to be over the moon with the talent they are getting. I'm going to be rooting for both of them. I mean, I think they're both very talented. I hated seeing either of them go. But we need to talk about the wins in the future. Shane is asking who could be the next one for Alabama. Ty Haywood, Ackland Deer, or Caleb Cunningham. That's a great conversation to get into. We also need to talk about the wins they got. So, Coach Sean, I want to start with you. Talk to us about Caleb Edwards. Talk to us about Justin Hill. And then talk to us about the future, right, in terms of who could be the next guy.
Man, listen, we went into this so in depth. This is right on the tip of my tongue. The tight end, Caleb Edwards, is a very, very, very unique young man because it really shows you it dates back to what we were just talking about, what the offense is going to be, right? These hybrid, quote unquote, I hate to say hybrid, but these tight ends that can play wide receiver, they can block, they can pretty much do it all. They can play in line, they can split out, they can play in the slot. I mean, you can put them in the backfield if you need to, H-back, whatever offensive position you want these guys to play. These hybrid guys are finite, and these guys are in high demand for these type of offenses. This young man is that. He's an absolute outstanding athlete. He can run, he can catch, he's big. And what's crazy is you look on our roster right now and you see a reflection of this young man in Caleb Odom, right? I think this kid is a little bit better blocker than Caleb Odom was coming out of high school, but it just serves you to understand what the future is going to look like with this type of offense, with this offense. You're not going to be able just to play a base defense against these guys. You're going to have to mix it up. You're going to have to, and just like Brinsky referred to on our channel, in the red zone, these guys are going to be crucial, right? Caleb and this guy, come on, man. Like, and they're not going to line up in your traditional inline tight end slots every time. And even if they do, that's a mismatch for us, right? We'll take your safety. We'll take your linebacker, depending on what you line up in. We'll take that matchup in the red zone all day and twice on Sunday. So it speaks to the future of what Caleb DeBoer is trying to do, trying to build. He's recruiting for scheme and getting great players in the process. As far as Justin Hill, this is a young man I had both fingers crossed for. This kid, and Jake spoke on this guy in length. This kid is outstanding at what we need as far as an edge rusher. It's just like any other high school kid. He'll get more aggressive in college. He'll learn how to use his hands better in college. He'll add a little weight in college. This kid's first step to me is unlike no other kid in this recruiting class. If you're third and long and you were in an obvious passing situation, there's no other recruit I'd want on the edge but this kid. This kid will come get you, brother. He'll trace down the ball. The backside pressure is outstanding. Trying to chase a quarterback down. He isn't afraid to stick his head in there and make a tackle. And he's a humble kid, man. Did you see this guy's commitment? Humble
That was
kid.
great.
Those are the humble kid, man. Kid was shedding tears because he understands the sincerity and the size of the moment. Listen, these two kids are exactly what I want for Alabama. You can have all these other five-star names. Give me Justin Hill, give me Caleb Edwards, and that's a win. That is one hell of a win for the University of Alabama.
Now, before I get you into the second part of this, Coach Sean, in the video I did, I don't know, because I know there were some distractions in the comments, right? But I don't know if y'all heard one of the things that when I was watching him, first step, unreal.
Yeah.
But I kind of had a similar takeaway in terms of what I did with Dejoun Lee, where I was like, listen, we can talk about his athletic prowess for days. We'll be here until Sunday talking about that. With Dejoun Lee, I singled out his football IQ. And I was like, to me, whenever you have all of the athletic capabilities he has and the football IQ he brings to the table, that's where you get one of the best players in the nation, regardless of position, any class. You put him in any recruiting class, he's going to be a 5-star.
Yeah.
22, 21, 20, 26, 27, 28, it doesn't matter. That's a 5-star. You know what I noticed about Justin Hill, Coach? And it's something you touched on?
What's that?
You know what you can't teach? Tenacity.
Want
to. Do you want to be great? This kid is running down running backs 30 yards downfield that his defensive backs aren't getting, and he's the one saving the touchdown. Do you want to be great? Do you have the tenacity to do it? Or are you content? You can be the most athletic dude in the world. That's great. But if you're just content, you have a ceiling that you have proverbially put on yourself. Justin Hill is one of those guys that, like Jake said in y'all's video, yeah, he might need to work on some hand stuff. But whenever you have that tenacity, that want to, that dog in you, for lack of a better term, I don't worry about that guy getting the technique down at the next level because he's shown I want to be great by just his actions, right? Actions speak louder than words. He's shown that. He is a defensive end willing to run 40 yards downfield to chase down the running back when nobody else did. He wants this. And that to me was like, okay, your athletic ability is off the charts. Your first step is incredible. But that tenacity, you can't teach that. You either have it or you don't. And I love that they're going after. Now, Coach Sean, in terms of guys to come and to be committed, what do you think about Ackland Deer, Ty Haywood, Caleb Cunningham? Do you think Alabama's in a good position for those guys?
I think Caleb Cunningham. I really I don't know. I see Ackland decommitted from Ole Miss. I see the other young man taking visits and everybody saying he's still high in Alabama. I think Caleb Cunningham may be a lock. I'm not sure if he is, obviously, but I do think Caleb Cunningham will be coming to Alabama. If he doesn't, it'll tickle me like, wow, this kid fits with Alabama. Another kid that's a scheme fit. Another kid that fits right into what Coach DeBoer wants, especially when you look last year at Washington and how these guys were built and the style of receivers that he had. Roma Dunze was good at one thing. McMillan was good at this. Polk was good at this. When you look at how that triangle was built and you look at what the tight ends, I think Caleb Cunningham fits what he wants to do. We have a very, very bright future at the quarterback position, obviously. So to play offense with the University of Alabama, your future is going to be exceptionally bright. These guys have some great, great stars, and just like Jake and Brinsky said, you got to keep them, true enough. But the future is exceptionally bright. So I think for me, just for me, Caleb Cunningham is a an absolute high priority, and nothing more than another gem added to what is already a very bright future in the wide receiver room.
Love it. Brinsky, talk to us about, Alabama had some commitments. Alabama had some decommitments, and Alabama looks to be in a good space for some big wins down the line. Talk to us about Alabama recruiting. What stood out to you?
I want to see Caleb Cunningham. I'm really high on him, and I know it's been kind of hard to believe at first that everybody that he was saying that was in his league go to Auburn, say that, oh, they my leader. Go to Mississippi State, they my leader. You go to Ole Miss, they my leader. But it was something different about when he came to Alabama. You could tell he really wanted to stay. And when he said, like, these guys are my leader, and he pushed up his recruitment day, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You can see him committing really, really soon to Alabama. I think he really, really enjoyed it. I think Coach Shepard was a big part of that. Just them wide receivers just relate to him so much, man. I just can't see any of the top receivers going anywhere else. Another guy like Ty Hayward is very rare that your favorite team is pushing to get you and you want to be there. I think he's going to take that opportunity to commit to the Tide. He wants to be great, and you line him and Jackson together. I think they're going to be some monsters on that offensive line. It's going to be like the Great Wall of Alabama. Like, it's no way you're going to be able to stop them boys. And then Khalid Lockett, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I believe that's the one that Keon is just trying to get the hardest. And I think he's going to end up committing to the Tide. I just got to see it. I don't see it right now, but I think later on down the line, we're going to get him. I think if he take one more visit to Alabama or some just line up, I don't know. But I think he's going to be a dog too. But the future is bright in Alabama, especially with all these big time playmakers. I'm talking about tall playmakers. Yeah. Like, it's going to be jump ball city with these guys, man. And they can run. And Justin Hill, last one I want to talk about. Man, like I said, man, I just think he can be Dallas Turner 2.0, man. I would really believe that speed is crazy. I'm thinking that's like Von Miller speed, especially with that first step. And you just watch on this highlight, like you said, man, you just see cornerbacks getting beat, and then you just see this linebacker just chasing him down to save the touchdown. He's going to be a dog, man. He is going to be a dog. That's one of the guys you need to keep your eyes on. It's three guys that I think that's going to be great at Alabama, and he's one of them right next to Russell and DJ Lee. Them the three that I say keep your eyes on. I think they're going to be some big stars at Alabama.
Love it. Jake, we're going to end with you, my man. Talk to us about Bama recruiting.
You just got to, I said it before, kind of discussed this a little bit with Coach Sean. It's interesting, man. You just look at what they're doing from, you got to give credit to every single person, right, in their role. So you give credit to the personnel staff. You give credit to the back of the recruiting staff. Obviously, Courtney Morgan, very responsible for putting that all together. You give credit to each of these coaches. Kalen DeBoer, again, responsible for putting that all together. Then you look at how they, from nutrition to a fitness, strength and conditioning staff, and even to our medical staff, everybody's on the same page. Everybody is very much bought into these core beliefs for this program and what is being built on top of what already was great and legendary. But it's not changing what's legendary. It's not changing the foundation. It's really just building more into it, right? And man, I'll tell you, it's just really impressive what they are all doing. But I think what's even more impressive is you have all these previous guys who are now bought in and believe the same thing. They all have that family first feel, right? And from there, when that's real, and you, as a player and a recruit, you come in and you feel that, man, it feels like home. You could be from anywhere. I've said it before. We have guys from Europe who are recruiting a guy from Canada. You know, there's people from all over the nation part of this team, and everybody comes together and they feel that love and that family. And now you start to do this work. It's on another level, right? When you do the work from a standpoint of doing it for yourself, but then when you start doing it for others, I mean, look at your own life. You know what I'm saying? Think about it this way. When you go into your day, if you go into the day grateful, appreciative, love your family, you do things for other people, I will promise you this. At the end of your day, you will feel so good about your life, no matter what circumstances you're in. When you're out there giving smiles, giving love, and you are bringing people together and making people happy, right? And in football, how you do that is, how do you get the buy-in of discipline, of focus, of hard work, but at the same time get that feel of like ending your day on the right note every day? How do you do that with an entire team and an entire staff and an entire athletic football department, right? That's hard to do, and the fact that they're able to do this goes in to show like these guys are really genuine, sincere. And again, I've said it before, I think you reap what you sow, right? And they have done a great job of, through just living right, obviously studying, knowing the X's and O's, keeping it football, but at the same time, as people, being good people, that all comes back to you in a full reward. I think that's what we're seeing now with how quickly the success they are having at the level they're having it, just from a recruiting side. It will be fun to watch, and I believe that will happen again on the field on the football side. So you look at who they're picking up, and you know, I know these guys have already highlighted the talented dudes, and that's the truth. You know what I mean? Like, they are picking up guys who are sincere, high character, great athletes, but come in with like, I want to win a championship, right? Not I want all this money, not me. Team first. I mean, you brought it up as far as the emotion in Hill and his commitment. And one of the things that stood out to me, right, was the fact that how thankful he was to his parents for how expensive it is, right? No, not a lot of kids say that, because the fact that you realize like what they have to sacrifice for you just goes to show his high character, that his parents did a good job. Dawson Merritt was like that too, man. Dawson Merritt has that same mindset too. I mean, each one of these kids do, to be honest with you. And it's special, and you will see those results from that sort of character, that work ethic, that mindset of team first. You're going to see that on the field.
100% love that. And Alan, I wanted to get to your comment as we end, saying, thank you for the $5 donation. Alan Berry says, does Alabama have a realistic shot with Justice Terry?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I think they do, in terms of Roach is still there, retaining Roach, defensive line coach. And yeah, I mean, Roach is a phenomenal recruiter. Roach has consistently been in the top 15 recruiters in all of college football. 24/7 Sports just did a list. They put Roach as a top 3 guy. But I do want to have you understand this, Alan. Alabama has a realistic shot at him, but it is going to be tough to lift him out of Georgia, right? I think as long as we understand that Georgia is going to be a tough team to beat here, yeah, Alabama has a shot. Alabama has a shot. Weld Shop saying, just wanted to say thank you guys for not instantly saying that Oregon is just throwing a Nike bag of money to recruits, and that's why the Oregon is built. Well, it's one of those things where I see that from people, and like I don't know what's going on in the background, so I'm not going to definitively speak on what's happening. But NIL is legal now. Everybody's doing it. So you have to have more than just the NIL in order to do this. Like, I think that Samples for Dakorien Moore was huge. Samples' dad, Weld, and you probably know this, Rashad Samples' dad is the head coach of Duncanville, where Dakorien Moore plays, right? Like, when y'all hired Rashad Samples, I sat up here and screamed to anybody that would listen. God, Jake and Coach Sean have heard me say this so many times. That is a home run hire. I thought that y'all had made an impeccable move right there. And you've got a great staff. You've got a great staff assembled over there. So yeah, man, it's a combination of everything. NIL is legal now, right? Like everybody's doing it. So you can't just have NIL, in my opinion. I think that the teams that just have NIL, they're not finishing as high as they would like to because they don't have the relationship building. They don't have a trajectory. They don't have, I'll put it like this, and I don't mean to take a shot at this team, but at the same time I do. What are you going to do? USC. Whenever Justice Terry and them were committed to USC, let's say Justice Terry ends up going to Georgia. And let's say that the NIL money, and I don't know any of this, I am just giving a hypothetical. Let's say there's $200,000 or $300,000 difference in what USC was offering him and what Georgia was offering him. Well, at Georgia, you're going to be playing in the prime time every single week. You're more likely to compound that with more name, image, and likeness recognition, and Georgia has a better track record of developing you. So what does that $300,000 to $200,000 really mean? If you think, okay, I have a better shot of being a first rounder at Georgia than USC, and what do the first round contracts look like? Listen, getting drafted is great. Go check out those first round contracts as compared to the second round contracts. That's life-changing money that you've just not gotten. It's life-changing money any way we look at it. But the $10 million difference, you put that in an account, let that accrue interest, and you're done. You're done. So it's a combination of everything. And then Goof saying, awesome take, Jake. The feeling giving will always outweigh receiving. Jake's always got the great takes. Always got the great takes.
No, man, you guys kick ass. Kick ass.
Weld Shop says, yes, sir. The Samples hires was huge. Dan's ability to bring coaches in has been fantastic. 100%. Tosh Lapoy, that's an Alabama connection, right? We've got a ton of respect for his recruiting ability. He says, best of luck to Bama this year. Hope to see y'all in the playoff. Maybe we can get some revenge on DeBoer finally. Hey, would love to see y'all in the playoffs, and I hate to say it, Weld, I would love even more for you not to get that revenge. But, hey, I do hope to see y'all in the playoffs. I am very impressed with what I believe Dan Lanning will do there. I'm high on Dan Lanning. I think that Oregon is the best chance outside of Ohio State to win the Big Ten. Yeah. And it's going to be a great time. Jake's take should be a new segment. It's a segment already, Matt.
Yeah, maybe on my channel. You know, I got a channel, everybody. Come subscribe, please. We got to hit the 500. Dude, I think I'm at like 225 or something, so that's cool.
Speaking of that,
it's a fact.
It's that time, guys.
Yeah.
Jake, let's start with you. Where is this channel? What is this channel called? Whomst runs the channel?
Whomst, I run the channel, me by myself. But it's pretty fun, man. I love it. It's cool. I wouldn't have been able to do it without these guys and learning and obviously jumping in. Coach Smook, obviously Coach Sean, Ty, Jarek, Jance, Jay, Coach Jay, obviously you, Brensky, and then there's a lot of other guys. I mean, I could list so many. Coach I's been great to me. Over at Jason Watkins over Hall of Fame, Chris Griffin over at Horns Down Podcast, been phenomenal. Cooper, Jay over at Unfair Sports, and Locked On Sooners been great. I mean, I've had a chance to interact with a lot of different people, and there's so many people I could go through and thank, a long list. I mean, you know, even big shout out, and I'll say it, is like, you know, Bama Football on YouTube gave me my first chance to come on and meet these guys. So I am very grateful for that opportunity. And now I have my own channel. Yeah, Set the Tone, Alabama and College Football Talk. You could, I don't know if you could search it in the bar, but if you just search even my Twitter name or at Coach_JMERR, and it's all capital letters, Coach and JMERR. You search that, you'll find it. Yeah, come subscribe. We're gonna be rolling out some content. Probably get some out today. So that would be good. And then start doing some lives, looking at like a schedule and working with these guys to do those lives. And so we can all just keep jumping on. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, PG. Yep. PG is one of them too, who I've had an opportunity to work with. There's Preston. So the PG show, he does a really good job with the recruiting knowledge from the Oklahoma side and just in general. So yeah, it's just been great, man. I'm just very, I think more so for me is I'm very grateful, right? I'm humbled. Never thought I'd be on YouTube or any sort of platform like this. I love the game, but man, just, I go about my day being grateful for these guys, grateful for you guys in the chat who join in. And man, I just love it. I love being able to talk football and giving you guys my side or take from a former player, coach, everything type of stuff, business development, law enforcement perspective, something unique and different. So very much appreciate that.
Always great having you on here, man. It's been great getting to know you, and we all communicate even outside of this all the time, guys. Like, we got group chats, we're always talking to each other. So when it comes to this just feels like all the conversations we have in the background just now in front of a camera. That's what makes it so much fun. Brinsky, my guy, let the people know where they can find all your great content.
Well, I'm Brinsky Sharp with the Sharpshooters Podcast. You can definitely catch me over there. Like I said, I'm doing more college football content, especially with Alabama recruiting. And like I said, I'm learning from these guys each and every day. Coach Sean, my guy, Jake, my guy. Really started to get on YouTube heavy because of Ty Hayes. Definitely appreciate him for even really of anybody on YouTube. We got my first start from him. So big inspiration. Love that brother to death. Always talk highly of him. Anything he posts, I'm retweeting. It doesn't matter. That's a good brother. Shane, I seen your comment in the comment section. Well, I'm a 10-time All-Pro player on Madden. Yeah, I'm a former player on Madden, but no, I am not.
It counts.
It counts. Yeah.
I'm a 10-time All-Pro, future Hall of Famer on Madden. So no, but definitely appreciate these brothers, our community of content creators. Definitely a supportive group. They all, even with Coach Sean and Jake and all the rest of them, they always support. We always support each other, retweeting everything. So I'm so grateful to know these brothers and continue to know them, and just so grateful to be out here. So you guys just come over here, sub to the channel. It's in the comment section, and catch y'all next time.
It's a blessing to have you on here, man. Just awesome getting to know you, getting to do content with you. It really is awesome. And be sure to check the Fan Addict Sports Network tomorrow, as Brinsky will be on the snap count tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. As I said, after we get done here, go subscribe to Brinsky. Go subscribe to Set the Tone. Go subscribe to the man who's about to let you know where he can be found. And go subscribe to the Fan Addict Sports Network. All great content creators, and we really do appreciate it, because we get to support each other, help each other grow, and kind of do a little bit of a growth hack, right? Kind of do a little bit of a growth hack. Coach Sean, where can the people find you?
Well, first, I pretty much just second everything Jake and Brinsky both said. That I couldn't have said it no better. I'm still green with this stuff, man. I got to learn how to get on the Twitters, the X, I call it the Twitters. Yeah, sometimes I go like 3 days without even getting on the dadgum thing. So I got to learn to get on it so I can see when my guys put up something, man. The social media thing was very difficult for me to even really start doing. Yeah, man, I just didn't like it, to be honest. I could talk football 20 days in a row, but social media aspect was tough for me to really break through that.
Yeah.
Even now, my social media decor, I still work with it. I think Jake hit it on the nail on the head the other night when the fan was being totally ridiculously crazy, and that's me. I'm in the back. Get him, Jake. Get him. Get him. You know what I mean? I want to help him. So, but I learned from Ty, man. You gotta stay focused, bro. You
Yeah.
gotta. So I'm still in that damn switcheroo lane, trying to, can't put belts on everybody's asses. I gotta understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And love Brinsky's comment, and love Brinsky's channel, man. I've been tapping in with Brinsky even before, we even was on the collective with the guys, man.
Yep.
So I've always been tapped in with him. Jake was a natural as well, came on and bam, we all bonded instantly,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Big shout out to Coach Smook, who really pushed me off the ledge. I've told people before, I was like in hell no stage. I'm not doing that, bro. I'm not talking to these people I don't even know. And Smook was the one was like, bruh, he kind of booted me off the ledge, you know what I mean? And Coach Jans always, who does better rants than Coach Jans? I'll tap in with Coach Jans, old Buffalo Bills. Look, I watch all his stuff, but I like to find the ones when the Bills lose.
Oh my gosh.
Bruh, listen.
Dude.
Jans already got that. He got that high voice when he talks like this. And Jans be going off. He be snapping, bro. He be going off, and I love it. I watch it 3, 4, 5 times, man. I love Jans's channel.
That's hilarious.
You gonna make a video about you talking about
man?
Yeah,
look,
you're gonna be the next rant.
Jans has a light voice, but he has a sledgehammer tongue, boy.
Yeah,
Trust
no,
and
for
believe
sure.
that. So Coach Smooth, Coach Jans, Jason from Hall of Fame Sports, PG, all these guys, man, everybody in that collective is freaking awesome. They love, Coach I is awesome. Fanatic Sports Network is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
These guys are just great channels, man. If you really want to talk football and understand the game and really go at it, and guys, it's not overbearing, right? And last but not least, Ty, man. Ty has always been the guy we all look to. I think even Coach Mook would tell you, we all watch Ty from afar. We watch Ty grow. You know what I'm saying? We all take stuff from Ty and put it in our own repertoire. And really, that's the part of this social media thing that I didn't want to get in for because I thought it was missing. So to get with these guys who nourish each other and help one another, man. All these subscribers I got, man, I owe it to these guys I just named, every one of these guys, because that's what has helped me. And that's why I try to do anything these guys ask me to do, man. So shout out to all these young men. Shout out to all their channels. They're freaking great. AAA and Hall of Fame Sports. These guys' channels and Sharpshooter and Set the Tone. These guys' channels are awesome. Around the Table Sports, my boy Bear. Around the Table Sports is also great too. Check him out. And just a big thank you to Ty, man. A big thank you to Ty. And you can find me at JMHO. Just my humble opinion. JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube.
Love it.
That means the world, man. And what you guys in the chat and people watching, you need to understand is not only do we do this, but we've also became very close friends, all of us, right? Like I said, we're always texting each other. We're always on the phone with each other. We're always just talking. If we're not talking on a live stream, we're texting each other. We're doing all that. So it's been a real blessing to get to know each and every one of you. Brinsky, Coach Sean, Jake. I mean, it is the highlight of my day to come on here. It's the highlight of my week to come on here with you guys. It's almost like free therapy for me. Get to talk to y'all, and it is absolutely great. Goof saying Ty is my favorite expert in bird law. I am the foremost expert in bird law in this nation. Okay.
Don't debate him.
You can own a seagull. I don't know why you would want to own a seagull, but you can't. It is legal to own a seagull. It is not legal to own that, but we'll get into that at a different date. Until next time, let me introduce y'all to the hidden member of the panel, the one that has been in the background waiting for his opportunity as we've eclipsed 3 hours, guys. That's the spinning wheel of doom. And it spins. Thank you all for